are you? Hello there. There's our music. Wow, I didn't know. Is there like a nice sunset behind me on our screen? Look at that. Is that normally there? Oh, I like that. That's a pretty backdrop. Right in the heart of Westminster I am. Look at that. Anyway, hi there, guys. How are you doing? Happy midweek. Happy hump day, as some people call it. I've never liked that expression. Doesn't really make sense. Kind of sounds a bit dirty, doesn't it? But anyway, a happy middle of the week to you. I'm here to bring you news and views and try and cheer you up. And I've got some extremely exciting news to keep you hanging on until the 10 o'clock hour, which is, by the way, the brilliant comedian Leo Kearse is joining us for Weird Hour. Oh, I can't wait. I mean, Paul Cox is the king of Weird Hour. He kind of invented it. You know, we did it together, accidentally. Thus it was born. He was actually messaging Leo Kearse about it, going, oh, you're going to love a bit of Weird Hour. So there you go. We're going to get even weirder, perhaps, if that's possible. Who knows? But I'm extremely excited. I love Leo Kearse. He's so funny. Very political, that man. Ooh, yes, he's got some strident thoughts. But before that, we are going to guide you, I was going to say gently. It might be a little bit more like a drunken stagger through the news stories of the day. And I want to hear from you. 03444991000 is the number to call. That's also the number to send me a WhatsApp message or leave me a voice note. You can start sort of sending in your Weird Hour contributions now if you like. 8722 is the number to send a text message. Write the word talk before you text. Pretty please, because of reasons. The phone number is your normal network rate, so it doesn't really cost you any more than it would do to phone anybody else or do anything else via your phone, quite frankly. So there you go. Now we've done our housekeeping and the T's and C's. Let's get on with the show. And as per usual, on Wednesday, we are blessed, delighted and privileged to be joined by, I think, one of the most preeminent journalists of our age, the inimitable, erudite Isabel Oakeshott. Hi, Is.
Hello there. You had me at drunken stagger. When do we get to do that?
You should come in like between 9 and 10 o'clock on the Late Show now. We've started to just do mad stuff about nothing. It's great.
Oh, that doesn't sound like you, Alex. Not at all.
Of course not. I'm very sensible and serious, me. But no, I don't know, it's sort of morphed into, it's not like going back to the true heart of talk radio where, you know, you just tune in late at night and hear people rambling on, having a nice conversation, having a good time, except with an extra dose of weird.
Okay, fine, all right, sounds good to me.
Yeah, you bring a Bowser of Chardonnay and we can actually rename it for that hour, Shard Talk with Alex and Iz. I think that'd be a great idea. Now, let's talk about Sir Keir Starmer. They say it's already begun, that Morgan McSweeney's gone. He was the sort of barrier between the country and mad left-wingism, although I don't think he was that much of a barrier, more like a perforated piece of tracing paper. But now they've got him out the way. Oh, they can focus on all the stuff that they wanted to focus on, like, I don't know, extreme socialism. And apparently Starmer is launching a class war to save his skin, banging on that he is working class with the most working class cabinet. And I'm like, okay, really? You're really not connecting with the Red Wall people, and now you think that you don't have to, then saying that you're working... What's going on? Make that make sense.
I think what it's known as is desperation. You know, what are they trying to do? Shore up the core vote? I mean, is that really the way to do it in this day and age? Start trying to parade your supposed working class credentials? We've all heard quite enough over the last year and a half, coming on 2 years, of how Sir Keir Starmer's father was a tool maker. And that all that does is make people roll their eyes. I honestly don't care whether a cabinet is working class, middle class, upper class. I really couldn't care less if they're doing a good job. And I think that's probably how most people feel.
But this is it. The working classes don't care less either. You know, who did the working classes really love? Boris Johnson. They just thought he was fantastic. They thought he was fabulous. They loved it when he threw in a little bit of Latin or a reference to Greek mythology. They found it quite endearing. The working classes really like Nigel Farage, privately educated, son of a banker. The working classes don't sit there worrying about whether they're people are actually born in a barn or in a manor. What they care about is whether these people understand them. And what I would say to the Labour Party is the last time I went to anywhere working class, my local pub, which I do quite a lot, people are not talking about pronouns. They're not talking about Islamophobia. They're not talking about deaths in Gaza. You know, what they're talking about is blimmin' Rachel Reeves and how injurious she is.
Are they? I mean, maybe I don't spend enough time in working class pubs. I think, the pub test is a good one for whether a story is worth discussing. And there's so much that people are angry about. I mean, yeah, people talk about funny stuff as well. But I think that people are talking about what is happening to our streets, on the streets of Britain, what is happening with crime, what is happening when you've apparently got very young teenagers stabbing other teenagers and shouting Allah Akbar, and apparently that's just an isolated case of someone with mental health problems. That's what people are talking about, and that's got nothing to do with working class or middle class or upper class. That's something that can unite almost all of us.
No, absolutely. Let's talk about that incident a little bit later, because it is shocking. Again, it's incredible how sort of desensitized we've become to horror in this nation. A story like that would be sort of leading all the headlines. Everyone would be getting really upset about it, and I'm not even really seeing it poking about on the news anywhere. It is crazy that we are just sort of becoming conditioned to stabbings and school kids attacking each other, and of course terrorism, although I don't think it's still to be qualified as a terror attack. What do you think's going to happen now with Starmer? I assume that this is it now until after the drubbing during the May elections.
Well, isn't it amazing how, often I'm thinking about the general election not being for 3 years and how much can happen between now and 3 years' time. And in fact, it's not just that, a week is a long time in politics. It's just a day or two is a long time.
Really want to Grammy. Drop.
Sometimes it's a matter of hours that's a long time in politics. And 2 days ago, I'd have said Keir Starmer's probably not going to last the week. Now, I think he's definitely survived in the very short term. And you could see from his demeanour at Prime Minister's questions today that he believes he's safe. And we know that those files, the Intelligence and Security Committee assessment of what should be released to the public of the advice that Keir Starmer was given, the Mandelson files, if you like, is not actually going to come out for another few weeks. So I think Keir Starmer now believes that he's absolutely safe for the next few weeks. And I'm going to be the first to admit, I really didn't think he would be able to get through this week, but he has done. Why? Because I think his leadership rivals were just not quite ready. It's just come that little bit too soon for them. Angela Rayner has still got that 40 grand tax issue hanging over her head. That's not been cleared up. Wes Streeting obviously got himself into a right old pickle because of his own links with Peter Mandelson. And as for Ed Miliband, I don't know where he is or what he's doing. He's probably busy spotting windmills somewhere. Maybe he felt he might be ready, but didn't want to be the one that's stuck in the knife. So that's probably why he's survived in the very short term. But I'd be very surprised if he survives beyond May.
I wonder as well, if I was a senior figure in the Labour Party, I wouldn't want to inherit this. I would not want to inherit the dumpster fire that is the UK right now, because I think unless you're going to put in place some pretty radical right-wing policies, you ain't going to turn the tanker around. It's in a mess. And, the only person, therefore, I think, who has the audacity to think that they would be able to do something and would be in it for the kicks would be Angela Rayner. Ed Miliband had said, and who knows, he might have been given a politician's answer, but when asked if he would stand for the leadership, basically said, when been there, done that, got the T-shirt, don't intend to do it again. And I'd be willing to take his word at that, to be honest, because...
Would you? Never. That's a big mistake. Never ever take a politician's word at that. I have heard politicians give the most emphatic denials that they have any interest whatsoever in ever running for the leadership. And you know full well that they're lying. And when the circumstances that change, they just say, well, that was then and this is now. Everybody believes that Ed Miliband is gearing up for this. He is the most popular choice, according to the type of polls that delve into this thing, of the Labour membership at the moment. Now, that may be changing by the day. But I would be surprised if he didn't go for it. I mean, that said, he has, of course, been leader before, but only in opposition. Very different.
Andy Burnham, what's he up to? Because he's been sort of coming out now and giving his support to Sir Keir Starmer, I would imagine through gritted teeth.
Well, Burnham's sort of licking his wounds. You know, this is all quite humiliating for him. He thought he was going to come back, the King of the North, you know, that great lost hero coming down to Westminster to save the day. And then he basically got blocked by the powers that be in the Labour Party machine. And there was no quick way back for him. The mechanics of the Labour Party make it too difficult for him to come back if the current leader doesn't want him to. So he's a bit stuck, really. I'm surprised that he sort of bothered coming out saying he supports Keir Starmer, because we all know he doesn't. But they were all doing it, really, weren't they? The metaphoric gun to the head. They all trotted out those lines.
And didn't it sound, with every sort of, you know, almost verbatim quoted soundbite, like the gun was pressed very firmly into the temple? I want to go back to the whole idea that Starmer is a working class Prime Minister. Because, you know, this is so overblown, this trope. I actually want, once and for all, there to be some sort of national discussion about what is working class. Because it's become so fetishized to say, I'm working class, I'm working class, I'm working class. About 15 years ago, everyone hated the working classes. Everyone was like, well, Benefit Street, look at them in their Burberry. You know, Owen, what's his face, Jones put out that book, Chav. And now everyone's sort of like saying, oh, I'm working. It's a race to like whoever can be the most working class. And yet all the people who are having this competition to become the most working class are the very people who seems to have the most disdain for the working classes, the people who want to drag us back into the EU, despite the fact that it was largely working class men and women who voted Brexit. They want to, you know, have ever open borders, infinity migration, when who are the people who seem to be the most exercised by this is working class communities, with the wage compression, with their high streets fundamentally changing. You know, and like I was saying earlier, I just feel like the working classes aren't getting bothered about pronouns. And, you know, Starmer, Sir Keir, oh yeah, that sounds really convincingly working class. He was brought up in Oxted. Now, I've been to Oxted. I'm not saying there's no such thing as a working class person in Oxted, but, you know, leafy Surrey with those lovely sort of Tudor-esque style buildings doesn't really strike me as coming from the sort of, you know, the sort of rough and ready burbs.
Well, what is working class these days anyway? I mean, I think that this it's a sort of misleading definition, but maybe if we just concentrate on the working bit of working class, that is now a rather different thing. I mean, there's long been what perhaps commentators might uncharitably have called an underclass of people who don't work at all. And in fact, to be working class now, I think, has become phenomenally respectable, because if you are working class and you are actually working, then you are the backbone of this nation. Our problem is that we've got probably, I want to say millions. I mean, we know there are millions of people who are just not working at all. And many of these are recent arrivals to our country who don't have the skills to get the jobs and are not net contributors to our economy. These are millions of welfare dependent people who are not working at all. So you can't call them working class. They are in a kind of subsection of their own. Some of them are underclass, so an underclass of criminals and benefit scroungers and cheats. Others are, of course, genuine benefits claimants who have fallen on bad luck, want to work, can't work, would love not to be in this situation. But that is the class, if you like, that I think should really concern Keir Starmer and his cabinet. It is that huge group of people who are not working at all and don't feel any need to.
Well, I think it does concern him. I mean, it concerns him in the way that he's now going to increase universal credit payments in line with inflation. So they're going to get more money to do nothing. Way! Now, I understand where there are genuine people who are disabled and need disability allowance, and a civilized society looks after them. I have no complaint with that. But like you're saying, there are now way too many. I mean, I can't remember the latest statistic. It was horrifying when I saw it. The latest statistic of, you know, how many people are signed. It's like 1 every minute almost signing up for some sort of form of disability or mental health welfare or something. It's totally unsustainable. But this is the problem. Starmer is now so weakened, he is going to be beholden to those backbenchers. And it wasn't long ago that the IMF were going to put the UK on the naughty step and sort of, you know, give Moody's the nudge and go, that credit rating looks a bit generous there. And then they decided that because Starmer had said, no, we're going to cut the welfare bill, they went, OK, let's hang on, the welfare bill is going to be cut. Of course, there was that revolt. And the change to the welfare bill just didn't happen. And it seems to me now the backbenchers have smelt blood. They're gnashing their teeth, licking their lips, and are very much planning to sort of go in completely the opposite direction to what at least the big credit rating agencies seem to think the UK should be doing.
I think that is a real peril in the months ahead. You know, Starmer and Reeves are, if it carries on being that pair of them at the top of the tree, they're just not going to be able to do the things that need to be done in order to bring down the UK's unsustainable borrowing levels. In fact, all the indications are that they only want to expand the state rather than contract it. They only want to make the welfare state ever more generous. And they've had no success at all in shrinking any bit of it. They make a lot of noise about it, but it's only ever been tinkering around the edges, all the while allowing hundreds of thousands of unskilled people to continue to flood into our country.
It's funny as well, I've seen so many sort of, you know, never heard of you before Labour MPs now saying, this is great, brilliant, we can put in a special programme finally to tax the rich. I'm like, but they're not here anymore. They've gone. They've left. There are no rich people. They've all fled the country. Yeah,
well, that's right. And equally alarmingly, actually, not rich people, you know, professionals, young professionals, ambitious young people. They may not even be professionals. They just want to be able to build up a career. They want to be able to save money. And they can't do that in the UK, or they feel they can't, because they are going to be so hammered on tax and because opportunities are ever more limited. That's how it feels, I think, to the growing exodus of people that have left the country.
Too true. And you're right, actually. It is the millionaires have fled. About, I think it's 12,500 last year, about 11,500 the year before. But it's that sort of the future generation of leaders and execs who have already decided they're bailing out. And that is a heartbreaking indictment of the nature of the UK right now. Let's take a short break, and you'll be pleased to know, ladies and gentlemen, that Rachel Reeves, she's still there. Yeah, no one's been talking about getting rid of her, unfortunately. But she is saying that the biggest prize for Britain isn't going to be her next budget. No, it's getting back into bed with Brussels. Oh, sigh. We're discussing that after this.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello and welcome back. Keep your messages coming in, please. 03444991000. I've just used that little break to have a read through some of them, and I'm going to be reading some of them out later. And a lot of you going like, why football? I'm on YouTube. Hi. But if you turn on the radio, you might not have heard that. But I'm here. Here I am. It's much more fun on YouTube because you can see me. But don't do that if you're driving. I know I've got a beguiling fizzog, but, you know, just focus. Right. Let's have a look. Before we bring Isabel back in, we had a pretty spicy PMQs, as one would imagine. We deserved one, didn't we? So shall we have a little look at what some of the bigwigs of politics have been saying? First of all, let's hear from the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer.
The Labour Party to victory in a general election. I'm one of them. She talks about numbers. Remember, Mr. Speaker, 5 ministers, 7 chancellors, 10 secretaries, 8 16 secretaries, all completely useless, all failed Britain, and this Prime Minister's clearing up the mess. She comes here every week desperately fighting to save her dying party. I'm fighting to change our country. Inflation down. Waiting lists down. Child poverty down. The number of Tory MPs.
Isabel, what is that analogy of the people who come out of the forest or the jungle and they're still fighting, thinking the war's going on? I don't know, like watching those two in PMQs with Starmer pointing out all the failures of the Conservative Party and him saying, you know, she's fighting to save her dying party. And I was thinking, you're fighting to save yours, my friend. I mean, it's just, you know, it's incredulous that when you think of how politics is looking right now in polling, etc., neither of them are even in the game.
I mean, he wasn't wrong, was he, about Kemi Badenoch fighting to save her dying party? She is. I mean, she's fighting to save the Tory party. He was able to humiliate her because she kept asking him what's changed. She quoted him saying words to the effect of in the past, I will never, you know, hang my advisors out to dry. You know, if somebody who works for me does something wrong, I'll be carrying the can for that. And she was like, what's changed? And he was able to throw stuff right back at her. And for example, citing that she said not that long ago, I guarantee there's not going to be any more defections from the Tory party. And then within 24 hours, 48 hours, there were two absolutely mega ones. So what you've got there is two very damaged party leaders who are absolutely it's existential for both of them, actually. Kemi Badenoch is in a more solid position as leader of the Tory party than she was a few months ago, that's for sure, but her party isn't.
Absolutely not. Remind me, when is cut-off day for defections? Because I remember Farage saying something on the lines of, you've all got until such and such a time to come over. After that, the drawbridge is pulled up. And I can't remember the date he said.
I believe that the date he set was just ahead of the May elections. I'm never sure if it would be totally rigid, but that's just my speculation. You kind of would have thought, let's say Kemi Badenoch herself wanted to defect. How would that be handled? Actually, I can answer that question. They wouldn't want her.
No. I think that's very clear, that she'll be the last one to start. Maybe Jacob will be there as well because he's so loyal. You know, maybe it'll just be Kemi and Jacob. Who knows? Let's talk about blimmin' Rachel Reeves. She's going to make a speech at LSE. She's made a speech at LSE this afternoon. Kel Surprise, a Fabian Society creation of a university, that one. And she has been basically saying that we need to, well, we keep hearing about reset the relationship with the EU, but she basically just wants to get back in the EU. She's said the government will only align with EU regulations when it's in Britain's national interest. I'd like to remind Rachel Reeves that at one point, people from her party were joining in with the calls from the EU saying that's cherry picking. So it's funny, isn't it, that all of a sudden they're trying to pull the wool over our eyes. It's not kidding anybody that they're not going to betray the Brexit vote. They're just going to betray the Brexit vote.
I mean, this has been bubbling for quite a while, hasn't it? And, you know, you sort of feel that they're a bit like a dog that hasn't been to the beach before, just contemplating the sea, kind of slightly paddling in as the waves come in a little bit and running back out again, then going a little bit further in as he realizes he's not going to immediately be engulfed by the waves. And each time they don't completely drown, they keep going a little bit further in. And that's how it feels with the Labour Party and the Parliamentary Party in particular. Their sort of flirtation, their experimental dipping of the toe in the water as to just how far they can push this. I mean, we're not stupid, folks. 17.4 million people voted for Brexit. I don't believe that 17.4 million people are having deep regrets. Many of them will regret that it hasn't been implemented properly, but I don't think that many of them today would say actually they'd vote differently. And so I think there'll be all hell to pay if that is betrayed. You know, we're coming up to 10 years. It's extraordinary to think in a few months' time, it will be the 10-year anniversary of the referendum. I can't believe that. It's just gone. I mean, you could sort of say it's gone quickly, but so much has happened, hasn't it, in that interim? And yet here we are, immigration is worse than ever, mass uncontrolled immigration, and we haven't used the Brexit possibilities, but at least we have the framework to do so.
No, exactly. I'm really looking forward to Brexit being implemented. But the thing is, some of the things that this government seems to be talking to the EU about with a view to potentially signing us up to them, and of course, the legacy media aren't talking about these things. They're not outlining them. They're not talking about how dangerous they are, how egregious they are. One is this newfangled weapons pact, where they're like, right, we've all got to sell each other weapons and all stockpile our weapons, and we can sell them to Ukraine. And, you know, they just don't want anyone doing anything individually. But they said to the UK, if you want to be part of this, when we actually have some of the coolest weapons, right? We are good at weapons. If you want to be part of this, you've got to pay. You've got to pay money to be part of it. And all of your weapons manufacturers have to use European components. It's like, great. So they now want to ruin our weapons industry, which is pretty vital in a period of geopolitical instability. The youth movement scheme, which is supposed to be, you know, unfettered travel for the under 30s, which will be, you know, 500,000 newly regulated migrants in Spain coming over here, no doubt, paying to go back into Erasmus. When the EU are now rolling out the red carpet from students from, oh, that's right, North Africa and the Middle East to join Erasmus. The Labour Party are basically signing up to demilitarise the UK and allowing even more Lord knows who from Lord knows where, and not only that, to make us pay billions for it.
Yeah, I mean, sort of in theory, I like the idea of the youth mobility scheme, but we all know that it will be horrendously abused. What we need right now is not more mobility, but less mobility. I mean, it's really as if anyone is taking any notice of any limits that we put on in the UK in any case. I just don't think that bringing in youth mobility has anything other than trouble written all over it. And I would respect such ideas more if this government had the remotest control over our borders. And we need to get serious, not just about who's coming in, but also the manner in which people are leaving. You know, what we've got is just sort of unfettered toing and froing from the UK as if it's a borderless country. That is not how sensible administrations and nations run their affairs. You need to be able to know both who is coming in and who's going out.
I couldn't agree more. Let's dip back into Prime Minister's questions earlier and have a little listen to Kemi Badenoch.
How dare he criticise us? We want the ones stuffing government with hypocrites and paedophile apologists.
Well, it's always great to hear the word paedophile apologist at Prime Minister's questions. I mean, she has got a point, though, and it's funny, isn't it? Because the left wing have been so good at name-calling for so long. Nazi, fascist, Putin apologist, racist, that actually, you know, I kind of don't blame her for using such direct terminology.
Well, it's also true, isn't it? You know, Exhibit 1 is not actually Mandelson and Epstein. Exhibit 1 is the grooming gangs.
Yes.
You know, the Labour Party is absolutely up to its neck in that. Labour councillors and other Labour figures all up to their necks in that. Not all of them, of course. But I think it was Ed Davey, actually, the leader of the Liberal Democrats. Remember him, everybody? Quite hard to think who he is. But anyway, that was the guy that spent the general election campaign cavorting around on hobby horses and in water parks. He actually did quite a good intervention in Prime Minister's questions today, pointing out that it's unfortunate. It's not just unfortunate to employ one paedophile sympathiser. That is an appalling thing in itself. And then you've got the situation where the Prime Minister has just given a peerage to another one that was campaigning to support another paedophile. I mean, I think we're all sick of hearing the words paedophile in relation to our politicians. Can we just not have politicians that are friends with paedophiles, maybe?
Is that too much to ask, you would think? Let's do some messages before we take our next break. Malcolm from Clitheroe says, Alex, Keir Starmer, working class? Ha! Starmer isn't working, and he's definitely not class. I like that. That's a good one. Ben says, hi, Alex. It's my birthday today. Happy birthday. I went to Gloucester Quay shopping. You're the first person I've ever met who has actually purposefully gone to Gloucester for their birthday. You know, great. I'm from there. So, hey, I'm back home in Yates and enjoying a curry and a West Country cider. Yes, get in there. I'm watching my favourite women on TV, which is you. Next time, Ben, I don't know how well you know Gloucester, Ben, but obviously I am Gloucester's 7th most famous person, I think. Yeah, probably. I think I'll put Fred and Rose West first and second. Alistair Cook, the cricketer, above me. Chris Whitty. He was born in Gloucester. Dick Whittington, he's probably bigger than me. Dr. Foster, and then me. So, yeah, probably about the 7th most famous person. But actually, from the 7th most famous person from Gloucester, I can tell you right now that you should have gone to the pub, the Café Rene, where I used to work, because it's the best pub, not just in Gloucester, but in the world. Alan in Tillycoultree says that if the government don't do a thorough vetting of government officials, how can we believe they're doing any vetting of illegal migrant arrivals? It's a terrible state of affairs. Only the weather protects our borders. Well, indeed. And someone else's message saying, let's not forget Burnham secretly pulled the plug on the Manchester grooming gangs inquiry. Oh, no, we don't forget who the paedophile apologists are. And then someone else has said, the Telegraph are now reporting that as well as shouting Allahu Akbar, the culprit was actually found in a mosque with this school stabbing. Still, they refuse to say it's terrorism. And Becca has said, evening, Alex, I think the parents of the 13-year-old school stabber should be escorted to the local church or synagogue and forced to apologise for their child's horrendous act. It was demanded when a poor kid scuffed a Quran and they received death threats from the usual baying mobs. I think the parents should be dragged to the police station. You are in charge of a child. If you're a parent, you are the legal guardian. They shouldn't be going out stabbing people. It is very simple. Stabbings and, again, silence in the Islamic community. It speaks volumes. We're going to be talking about that subject just after this.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, welcome back. Today, two of the biggest news stories are both tragic stories about deadly killings in schools. One here in the UK, in Brent in London. The other across the pond, but in Canada. Now, I can give you an update on what we know about Canada, because the Canadian police are right now holding a news conference after that horrible shooting in British Columbia. And it's now believed that the gunman who murdered 9 people in what is actually the second deadliest school shooting in Canadian history has now been named. And the name of the perpetrator is Jesse Strang. Now, Jesse Strang is reported to be transgender, 18 years old, opened fire in the library at Tumbler Ridge Secondary School in British Columbia. 6 people were killed at school. A 7th died en route to hospital. Strang then took his own life at the school. Let's bring Isabel back in. I just quickly want to touch base with you on this one before we talk about the horrific school stabbing here in London. There will be people. Now, we know the name's been confirmed as Jesse Strang. There have been reports of this person being transgender. I have seen plenty of photographs circulating on the internet with other news agencies, which would appear to confirm that fact. We also know that it was initially reported that it was a female in a dress who carried out the shooting. And I think perhaps more than just me thought, is it going to be a female in that dress? And it does add to a recent phenomenon, if you will, in America in particular, of shootings being carried out by people who are reportedly trans. I don't really know how much else I can delicately put this. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Isabel.
Well, I mean, I suppose looking at it on its simplest level, not knowing whether you're a man or a woman, or thinking you don't know whether you're a male or female, is a pretty miserable situation. It's a pretty confusing situation. It's a pretty wretched situation. It's a pretty screwed up situation, if you ask me. I'm pretty binary about these things myself. I think there are only men and women, only males and females. And on some level, I feel very sorry for people who think they're in-betweeners. And that has to play into severe mental health problems in probably most cases, not all cases. I'm sure there are some very happy and balanced people who are transgender, but we don't know about this particular case, whether this individual has had realignment surgery, whether they've been taking a lot of medication, a lot of hormone suppressants. We just don't know. But on balance, I suspect, I don't know what research has been done about this, that most transgender people are probably, on balance, less happy on average, less balanced, if you like, less mentally
secure,
able to cope with things than those that are very sure that they're.
I think as well, you know, another thing that we could possibly bring into this, which I think could relate to the horrific incident in the UK as well, is now what you have across social media and increasingly being sort of parroted by voices in mainstream, is constantly this idea that trans people are somehow under threat, that people want to kill them, that, you know, trans lives matter, as if they're being executed, persecuted, that they face some sort of unspoken danger at the hands of particularly the right wing. And I just think if you are somebody who is looking for answers online because you're suffering from dysphoria, and all you're getting bombarded with is this message that people want to kill you, that you are being persecuted, that the people want to kill you are wicked, it's going to mess you up. It's going to mess you up. And I then think about now, you know, witnesses claiming the attacker here in London shouted Allahu Akbar during the stabbing rampage at a London school. And there is a counter-terrorism probe. And I think, again, at the age of this young person, and if, you know, these things are confirmed to be true, how have they been radicalised? Have they been radicalised through the medium of their family life? Is it the medium of the mosque? Or is it a bit like those school children who went off to fight for ISIS? Are they being radicalised online? And that, to me, is a potential common thread that we might be able to see in both of these horrific school murders, school mass fatalities, is whether both perpetrators, young people themselves, have got, you know, caught up in extremely toxic grooming, essentially, online.
Well, I just don't know whether they're parallels and whether it's at all helpful to seek parallels. I think that we could seek parallels of cases in our own country, but these are two, on the face of it, totally different sets of circumstances. And I mean, I'm with you. You said earlier about the responsibility of parents. I will be fascinated to hear, and it will take, I'm sure, a long time before we know what really happened. But we did find out with the Southport killer what was going on in that household as his parents tried desperately and repeatedly failed to kind of help their son be a normal functioning member of society, and so many opportunities were lost. And they've sort of said sorry for that, haven't they? The killers, the parents of Axel Rudikabana. It was very clear from the investigation into what was going on, separate to the criminal investigation, that they failed in their duty as parents. And you can't help feeling that the parents of any young teenager that goes out stabbing have abjectly, demonstrably failed. I mean, there's just no other way of putting it. How could they, by definition, they've failed in their duty as parents?
No, absolutely. Let's look at what Detective Chief Superintendent Luke Williams had to say earlier on about the Brent stabbings.
Officers were called to Bacon Lane around 40 hours following a report that a 13-year-old boy had been stabbed. On arrival, we were made aware that a 12-year-old boy had also been stabbed, and the boys had been taken to hospital. The suspect, who we believe to be 13, left the scene following the stabbing. After urgent inquiries, our officers arrested him due to the surrounding circumstances. The investigation is now being led by officers from counter-terrorism policing London, who are working closely with our local officers in response to this incident.
Do you know, I'll tell you what is strange here. To me, this is a massive story. When the attack happened in Southport and Axel Rudikabana fatally killed 3 little girls in that dance class, well, this child would-be murderer potentially was stabbed too, who are in a critical condition. To me, this is a huge news story, and yet I'm not seeing much reportage of it. Has that struck you as unusual? As in, not the same sort of level of reporting we got after Southport? I don't know. I just wonder if there's been some sort of suggestion that let's not focus on this in case people go, you know, out on the streets again. It seems to me that, you know, I'm looking at the screens now up there, Sky and the BBC. BBC are taking the long press conference from British Columbia and Canada right now for that horrific school mass fatality. Sky News is just talking about Sir Keir Starmer addressing the women in the Labour Party. And I'm like, we have just had a potential child terror incident in a school in London with 2 young kids who are fighting for their lives.
Couldn't agree with you more. Look, the day that we are not reporting that as an absolutely shocking atrocity in our society, the day that all of us who fear that something is absolutely rotten at the heart of our country at this moment and that Britain is broken is confirmed. That is the truth. I would just give, from a journalistic perspective, I'm afraid there is one horrible reason why this doesn't get quite as much coverage as the Southport one would, and that is that the victims in this case are boys. And newspapers, I'm sorry to say, and probably broadcasters as well, prefer female victims. They make better photographs. That is just, I'm sorry that's the case, but it is. That's in my long 25 years of working in newspapers. Female victims get more attention.
I thought that myself. I did actually think if this had been little girls again, it would be a bigger noise for certain. Okay. And also, of course, it's still early days. We haven't had the two young kids fighting for their lives. They've not been named. The perpetrator, well, he is a minor. Unlikely he will be named. It has to take a special judicial decision to do that. It's not been declared a terror incident, but counter-terror police are investigating. No charges have been made. There's still a lot here that we don't know, which is normal at this stage in events. But a bit like you, Isabel, I think there's something very funny about the fact it's just been sort of swept away, normalised, and it's terrifying, utterly terrifying. Okay, let's come up for a breath of air, shall we? And then when we come back, we're going to be talking about how migrants are now launching modern-day slavery legal appeals to block deportations. This is primarily under the much lauded, much feted Labour Party one-in, one-out arrangement with France is already not working. And also, yet again, another story of another asylum seeker, this time who's raped a 12-year-old girl. I just don't know what to say. Let's take a breath and meet up again in just a moment.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, can I just say, Alex, get the sound guys to sort the echo out on the news clips. The dog keeps looking at me. Well, I can tell you this right now. They've actually gone to do that. There's no more clips for now, said Dean. Don't play any more clips. Don't say clips. Gary in Glasgow. Alex, all the clips you're showing tonight are echoing. I'm on YouTube. Thank you. But they know. They just told me. And I'm like, well, sort it out. Go poke some buttons, would you? Or just, I don't know, rebuild us some studios. But we are looking into that. So thank you ever so much for bringing it to our attention. Isabel, right, let's take these two together. I mean, the first one, Kel Surprise, migrants are now launching modern slavery legal appeal to block deportation. I mean, this has been hanging over us for ages. Mr. International law, we got to respect international law. The blimmin' stuff needs an overhaul. It's that simple.
Well, I actually think they are modern day slaves.
They are, yeah.
But we know that, so we shouldn't be letting them come over in the first place. I mean, this is the reality of the type of people that are coming over in the small boats. These people, as I revealed earlier, at the end of last year in our talk documentary, The Undercover Migrant, I don't believe the majority of these people coming over on small boats are paying for their fare. They simply do not have even a fraction of the money that is being reported as having been paid for a ticket. You know, it's long been said they pay 1,500 quid or £1,000 or more. Absolute nonsense. They're not paying anything like that. These people, the ones that we encountered in the jungle of Calais and Dunkirk, don't even have enough to buy a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
You know, they are utterly dependent on the charities around the beaches of northern France. So how is it then that they're getting their passage to the UK? Well, they're providing services in kind, aren't they? They are providing services to the criminal mastermind. So yes, they are modern day slaves. And that does stick in my throat a bit because it makes them sound like, you know, it sounds all a bit Guardian newspaper and a bit lefty. But that is the reality. And those that keep pretending that this is something other than that have an awful lot to answer for, because modern day slaves will do desperate things when they come to our country, and so it is proving.
No, exactly. And it's funny how, you know, everyone sort of bangs on about the slavery that the British actually abolished 500 odd years ago, whatever it was. Instead of talking about the slavery, very visible on almost all high streets today, whether you're looking at sort of money laundering, Turkish barbers, vape shops, nail bars, hand car washes, it is everywhere. But no, let's not talk about that. Much more fun to focus on when we were colonists. OK. Let's finish off the hour in a dismal way. An Afghan asylum seeker convicted of abducting and raping a 12-year-old girl. He was 23, made an indecent video of it. This is in Nuneaton. His name is Ahmad Mulakil. It faces deportation. Quite right too. Another man, Mohammed Kabir, 24, was cleared of attempting to take the child and committing an offence with intent to commit a sexual offence and of intentional strangulation. An Afghan national who arrived across the Channel in a small boat on Christmas Day in 2024. The Taliban have actually told the Telegraph that they'd be willing to take old Mulakil, the child rapist, back, and any other Afghan held in a foreign prison. Well, thank you, Taliban, for being so helpful, but I have a feeling that they will now use that as an excuse for being kept here.
Yeah, I mean, we don't routinely deport to Afghanistan. I'm not sure how many we've deported at all in the last couple of years. There's certain nations that we just don't deport back to because we're too nice and we think that it's too rough over there. But you think of the kind of journey that someone's done from Afghanistan to get to the UK. I mean, that is the ultimate pick and mix of which country you're going to claim asylum in, isn't it? And we've got to deport foreign criminals. You know, it is unbelievable that we even have this shiny new detention facility that I was talking about on Kev's show a couple of weeks ago, just outside Oxford. They've spent hundreds of millions of pounds on this thing, and it's not even half full. It was only ever going to accommodate, I think, something like 400 places ultimately, even when it's fully expanded. At the moment, it's just got about, I don't know, 50 people in it or something like that. There are so many foreign criminals clogging up our jails. Many of them should never be in our country in the first place. We need to deport them forthwith. Frankly, I don't care. If a rapist has to go back to a country where they may not be welcomed with mugs of cocoa and free mobile phones, well, good luck to them.
Let's imagine, shall we, if this man, Ahmad Mulakil, is sent back to Afghanistan, and how they might think about the following. He first saw the girl playing on swings in a park. He approached her later that day and elsewhere in the town. CCTV captured the pair talking. Jurors heard he lured the girl into a secluded cul-de-sac before repeatedly raping her and filming the attack. In a videotaped statement, the girl said, "He was trying to strip my clothes off. He said nothing. He was laughing. I was saying get off me, but he didn't say anything. He just carried on. He said he was going to kill my family. I was scared. He took photos. It felt weird. The girl clutched fidget toys during the police interviews and used wooden models to reenact the rape. The distressed girl was eventually found in a local park by 2 adults. I don't care what happens to him if he goes back to Afghanistan, Isabel, because he's sick. He's evil.
I really couldn't care less, and I don't think we should. Look, if you commit atrocities like that, you actually, in my view, you lose your human rights, really.
Yeah. No.
Because you've not been a human. You have not behaved like a human. This is what separates us from being animals, and clearly he didn't do that. So I think you lose your rights.
I agree 100%. Isabel, thank you ever so much. You've been fantastic, as always, bringing us up to speed with the day's news, giving some of your golden views, and you're always the journalist that I choose. Right, let's take a short break now. When we come back, we're going to be putting Sebastian Salek, Labour councillor and commentator, through his paces, let's say, about what is going on in the Labour Party civil war. And he's going to be joined by Sunil Sharma, host of Rational Voices with Sunil. So don't go anywhere. We're going to have a bit of a head-to-head. That's always fun, isn't it? We're back after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, and welcome back. It's 8 o'clock. In fact, it's 4 minutes past 8. As we're not on the radio, I don't know if we should do those timing things. But there you go. If you wanted to know, that's what it is. Sorry, we're not on the radio, but it is it Crystal Palace playing, lads? Is that what you were saying? It's football. There's people kicking balls about. But thank you for joining me here on YouTube, and lots of messages are still coming in, which is very exciting. I'm going to read a few out now so we can stay on top of the situation and hopefully inspire some of you to join the conversation. This is my favourite from Darren. I thought Alex Felix was on instead. You've got Manchester City Fulham on the app. Who's Alex Felix? I might change my name to Felix. I think it's kind of better than Phillips because then I've got an X on the end of both names. Alex Felix. That's cool. I like that. Thank you for inspiring me, Darren. I'm going to go down deed poll later. Stephen says, so pensioners can't be working class. This is what I mean. Like, what is working class? We need to just get this nailed down once and for all, what it means, because everyone claims they know, everyone claims to be from it. If you're not from the working classes, you're clearly some sort of Nazi, fascist, racist uberlord that needs to be, thrown out of the country. You earn too much money and taxed to high heavens. So let's just define what it is. What is being working class? I don't know. I sort of had this conversation with my mum the other day because I was like, well, my dad was a lorry driver, so does that make me working class? And my mum sort of bristled at the prospect that we might have been working class, but we didn't have any cash monies much. We weren't like scrapping around in bins, but we weren't exactly well-heeled. But then, my dad knows his Latin and does the Times cryptic crossword and encouraged us all to speak French and, yeah. So what is it? Can you be well-educated and working class? If you then start off working class and then get well-educated, do you stay in the working class, or are you then ex-working class and now you're middle? Like, what is it? We need to know. Paul in Oxford, yeah, the football thing. I know, I get it. Tarzan, my favourite, says he loves the dress. Is it tangerine? That's orange. Let's keep it simple. It's just orange, isn't it? But thank you, anyway. Hello, Alex. Matt and Dean. Oh, they say hello to all of you. I thought Matt and Dean were messaging, and I was like, isn't that funny? Because Matt and Dean are also in the gallery. But no, it's Margaret in Birmingham greeting all of us. Well, Matt and Dean anyway, and me. I love the Big Ben backdrop. I like that. Is this what we normally have? That's new this week. I really like that. And, I kind of feel like it coordinates with the dress I'm wearing. Like, by sheer coincidence, I match the sort of, shepherd's, whatever it is, shepherd's delight behind me. Although I think we know that is a fake news shepherd's delight, because there ain't no shepherd's delight coming tomorrow, sons. I've seen that weather forecast, and it ain't pretty. Becca says, name a school shooting the last few years that hasn't involved potentially someone on SSRIs. Well, it stands to reason, doesn't it, Becca? People who go and shoot people up in schools are probably mentally unstable and therefore might be being medicated. But then the question is, are these medicines good for people? I don't know. Hi, Alex, you're a breath of fresh air. Absolutely love the show. Thank you. Ian from Liverpool. Why, thank you to you, Ian. And Rob says, from one Gloucester to another, take a walk down Barton's Road. Oh, I know it. Barton Street. Oh, I knows it well, my son. Yeah, that's a changed place, isn't it? Old Barton Street. I remember that when I was a kid. It was always multiculti Barton Street. They've always had that Barton parade and stuff. I think my great-grandparents got married in the church at the top of Barton Street, which I think now is an Islamic community centre. So that's all you kind of need to know, really, about the changing landscape of central Gloucester. OK, let's get into a bit of a political head-to-head now. Let's have a debate, shall we? And welcome aboard HMS Common Sense, Sebastian Salek, into the Lions Pit, Labour councillor and commentator. We always appreciate you. Brilliant value, Seb. And also joined by Sunil Sharma, host of Rational Voices with Sunil. Now, normally when you're in the studio together, I don't know if you've ever been in the studio together, but when the head-to-head happens in the studio, I like you to look at each other lovingly and shake hands. So if, Sunil, you could look to your right and Sebastian to your left, does that work? Or are you looking opposite directions? No, other direction, Sebastian. There you go. And yeah, same direction you had before, Sunil. There you go, smile, wave on the screen, wave at each other. Oh, well, there you go. It's almost as good as shaking hands there. We've done it. We've done our niceties. OK, let's talk about this potential class war. Apparently, I don't know whether it's a confected story, but the lurch for the left that is supposed to happen. Now, Morgan McSweeney has been removed from his position of influence. Seems to have been kick-started with Starmer saying, I'm a working class Prime Minister. Sebastian, let's start with you. Is he working class? Does it even matter?
I think he is working class, and a lot of it is to do with how you feel. There's no definition of working class, is there? But by many counts, he is. He's talked about his parents' jobs quite a lot. We don't need to go over that again, but even by that definition, he would count as working class. And look, I think there are many people who identify like that. There are many people who want to see those who are working hard, and also those who perhaps don't earn as much as others see the majority of the political attention in this country. So I think it's probably a good place to focus.
Sunil, working class or speaking out of his posterior?
I think, like you mentioned earlier, Alex, it's really hard to define what working class is anymore. I just think with him, a probably more important question is, does he represent the majority of Britain? Does he understand the average Brit in the country? And I think that answer is a pretty resounding no. I don't think he actually understands what has been around ordinary Brits across the country, understands what's important to them. And you can kind of see that with the policies that his government are making. It feels like on a day-to-day basis, there's nothing he does that is in the interest of the average Brit. So I think that's probably a more important questions. Like you both mentioned, working class just seems to be up for grabs in terms of how you define it. But I think the bigger question is, does he represent the average Brit in the United Kingdom? And I think the answer is a definite no.
Let's go back to that then, because, I was listening to the Today programme a couple of days ago, and there were two people discussing Morgan McSweeney leaving. One was Lord Finkelstein, I suppose representing the right wing of that debate, and the other was John McTernan, who used to be an aide to Labour Prime Ministers. And John McTernan said on air, well, good. Now McSweeney is gone, who was obsessed with trying to chase the reform vote, i.e. the Red Wall, the Labour Party who now would back Farage, which I would probably categorise as the working class. He said, well, good, we can now focus on our core vote, which is metropolitans, minority communities. He actually said metropolitan, white-collar workers, which isn't the working class at all. I mean, working class people, I think, are most exercised by the massive changing demographics of their communities and the fact that they're being taxed a lot more. They don't have any disposable income. And yet these are two things that the Labour Party appear not to be being very successful at dealing with.
Is that one for me?
Yes, that was to you, Sebastian.
Look, I think on this basis, there is an electoral strategy here where you can coalesce the left, can't you? Because I think the next election is probably looking like the do we go for Farage or do we not go for Farage election? And there's probably a big enough coalition that can bandy together and keep him out of Downing Street. Now, look, that means speaking to the left. So that means making the positive case for immigration, for example. And I think there are a lot of people who want to hear that. If you look at where the voter flows have gone away from Labour, a lot more of them from the research I've seen have gone to the Greens, to the Lib Dems, than have gone to Reform. So it's about winning those people back as well. And that may not be what a lot of your viewers want to hear. And look, I know there are legitimate concerns about immigration, and you have to acknowledge those as well. But there is also a positive case to be made, and I would like to see a Labour government doing that.
Interesting. Sunil, you see, this is exactly what I think is interesting. When you do look at the country, this has traditionally happened across various eras. If you stuck together all the votes for the right-wing parties and the left-wing parties, normally there's a slight edge on the centre-right vote, but in many cases it sort of goes down the middle. But it seems to be something that's happened in modern politics is, if that happens, if there's a sort of stop reform coalition, I would venture that if you were to superimpose that on the supposed earnings demographic, you would find that it would be everybody versus the working class, quite frankly, because it seems to me that the right wing of politics is now the voice of the traditional working classes, whereas the left wing side of politics seems to appeal more and more and more to those with, let's say, luxury ideologies who want to talk pronouns and want to talk open borders. Is it all wonderful because they're not living at the sharp edge of it? Do you think my analysis is right, or are you more in line with what Sebastian says, which is there's a positive case to be made?
No, 100% agree with you, Alex. I think Labour now represent London and the areas outside of London, the sort of home counties. They don't represent working class people up north. They fail to understand this during Brexit, and they still don't quite get it with their own voters, the people who vote traditional Labour voters. I think they're so distant away from them that what they actually want and what they actually need, that they're just so far away, and they're just stuck with this. What people think in London's really important, what a lot of the mainstream journalists think is important. That's not what everyday Brits care about. Their priorities are not the same. So you look at some of the things that you mentioned there when it comes to pronouns, when it comes to talking about net zero as much as they do, or climate change as much as they do. The most Brits, I think, is quite straightforward. Can you make their life better on a day-to-day basis? And that, I think, is the most important thing for most people. But I think in general, there's been a massive shift to the left. We talk a lot about left and right wing, but I feel like the last 10, 20 years, we have seen a shift to the left, whether it's the Conservative Party. Taxes were raised by a so-called right-wing party to levels that we've never seen before. There's nothing right-wing about that. There's nothing right-wing about having uncontrolled migration like we've had for the last 10, 20 years. Again, a lot of that was under a allegedly right-wing government. I think right now, if you say something along the lines of a man is a man, a woman is a woman, we should control the borders, that's now considered right-wing. 20 years ago, that was just common sense. That's just middle ground, normal. A Labour person would say this, a Conservative person would say this. But now the reality is so different, where anything, it feels like that's remotely commonsensical is now considered right wing, or even worse, far right. So you look at the rise of DEI jobs again. You go back 20 years ago, this would never be the case. You look at the examples of even Obama, some of the things he used to say as a so-called left-leaning president. That was a man who regularly talked about mass deportations were important, talking about controlling his borders, talking about how he won't allow illegal aliens into the country. If he said that now as a person, he'd be absolutely crucified by the Democratic Party, same as if he was part of the Labour Party. So I think there's been a real shift to the left in general in across politics. And I look at reform, and I think they're just saying a lot of middle grounded, basic common sense stuff, to be honest.
But this is interesting, actually, because earlier we were saying, what is working class? And I want to put to you, Sebastian, what is left wing? Because actually, I think that, Sunil's making a good point there, that things that were just happily centrist about 10 years ago are now considered fascistic. But I wouldn't say it's sort of shifted to the left, because if you go back even further, the original Labour Party were the Brexiteers. The original Labour Party were the social conservatives who understood what Jeff going down the working class men's pub thought about society. The original Labour Party now would have been the original Labour Party, who were concerned about mass migration because of the impact on workers' wages. So what is left wing these days? What is the Labour Party?
Yeah, you're right that in the 100+ years that the Labour Party has existed, there are some ways in which it's changed. Of course, every party would say the same about themselves, but there are some fundamentals as well. And to me, that is about making sure that there is a floor below which nobody falls. And when you see things like raising the minimum wage and reinstating or scrapping, rather, the two-child benefit cap, I see those as really left-wing, really progressive policies that help people who are lower earners. And it was disappointing to see Reform and the Tories opposing both of those measures. So there are still things that Labour are doing that they would always have done, even 100 years ago, that are still considered very progressive. And I think many lower earners would really appreciate that, having a bit more money in your pocket, being able to support your child, and seeing children not fall into poverty. And equally, looking at measures like taxing private school fees. I think, look, if you are a Labour supporter and you have your child in private school, you will understand that you are one of the lucky ones who can afford to do that, and hopefully would willingly pay the extra. And if you're not, you're seeing money going from people who can afford to give it and who are giving their children an unfair advantage, and that is being brought into the public pot and could be used elsewhere. So there are still a lot of progressive ideas that this government is bringing in, and that's why I'm really enthusiastic to support them.
Funny, isn't it? So Keir Starmer benefited from going to a fee-charging school. It became a fee-charging school during his tenure there, and he got a bursary. Interesting. I wonder how that school is faring under Labour Party's proposals, and whether other people will have the same sort of option for social mobility. sustainability. Gonna have to say goodbye to both of you, I'm afraid. It's time for another break. Time marches on, but thank you to Sebastian and to Sunil there. Keep your messages coming in. Thank you, Scott from Fife, who said, hi, Alex, great show. Just a reminder, you can watch Talk on Amazon Prime too. Can you? I didn't know that. That's kind of cool. I like being on Amazon Prime. Hi, people, if you're watching on Amazon Prime. That's nice, isn't it? Only because I watch, like, weird UFO documentaries on there. So it's like, oh, can I watch a UFO? I actually wouldn't watch myself back because that'd be weird. If I went home and watched myself back, I would need to go to a therapist and check to see if I've got narcissistic personality disorder. I actually have a grim... I can't look at myself back. I kind of... I don't know. I think most people are like this. You hear your own voice and you go, oh, my God, is that how I speak? And worse still, when I see my face moving, I'm like, my jaw moves in a weird way. Oh, God, I pull weird faces. God, my hands move about it. I mean, basically, I'm just a normal person, which means I don't want to watch myself back ever, ever. But there you go. I'm on Amazon Prime if you do. Stu in Guildford says, have you already mentioned James Van Der Beek? He's just died aged 48. That is true. The sort of famous Dawson's Creek actor has died of colorectal cancer at the age of 48. Another young person with colorectal cancer, a topic that I'm not into colorectal cancer per se, but I'm very much into diet and how it's impacting on health. A topic that I'd love to discuss one day, but not today. I'm afraid you'll have to come back to me another time for that one. Working class is a mindset. Being poor helps you have it, but I know wealthy people with it. Work hard, honesty, respect, down to earth, spendthrift, and giving your last tea bag to a neighbour. I think that's really good, actually. There's a lot of people, right, in the cushy middle classes who just don't know hardship. And I always say that there's this distinction, OK? If you're brought up, whether you consider yourself working class or not, but with exposure to those communities, you get it. You get life. You're not living a sheltered existence. You see what reality looks like. You see your, like, you know, coming from Gloucester, OK? Predominantly, I would say, a sort of fairly working class city. Anyone who's been born and bred in Gloucester knows that Gloucester of 1990 compared to Gloucester today are hugely different. It was always a bit of a multi-culti, you know, rough around the edges city, but it's hugely changed. I remember shopping centres with all these... You could walk around town and go in and out of shops. Now they're all boarded up, or those weird things that, like, crash from the back of a lorry, just hung up and they're gone there and gone the next day, and people selling calendars and stuff. It's sad. When I go back to Gloucester, I just feel very, very sad about it. I'd love to get Gloucester into my paws and drag it up to where it should be. An amazing historic city. But, you know, are we getting tourists coming to Gloucester to look at our beautiful cathedral, one of the best cathedrals on planet Earth, our historic Victorian dockyards? Did you know there's the entire Roman city of Glewham is underneath Gloucester? And there's these big metal plates in the King's Walk shopping centre that they used to lift up, and you could go down there and walk around the old Roman city. It was like a capital city. Those blimmin' things haven't come up for years. Council can't afford that anymore. No pride and respect in our history and our heritage. And yet such an amazing... I mean, the New Inn pub, the best example of an old coaching inn, intact in the world. In the world. People don't know that. They go to Gloucester and they just see, you know, well, basically. And it breaks my heart. I don't know how I got into that, quite frankly. But I think that's the thing. If you're brought up in the cosy middle classes, you're not exposed to these changes. You're so insulated against them. So you can afford to have these belief systems that open borders are really nice. We've got to help these people coming over on the dinghies because the migrant hotel ain't at the bottom of your street, is it? It's not your daughters being harassed. Oh, it's not your job that's been lost because now the building company you worked for are picking up young Romanians and Albanians outside of B&Q to go work cash in hand. So you're suddenly not getting the gigs anymore. Don't affect you. If you're from the middle classes, if your life's really easy, that you've got your deposit automatically there, you don't have to worry about that. You could just drift happily into the next middle class environment. Oh, you can worry about climate change, can't you? Because your electricity bills are affordable to you. I think that's the difference, really, between working class and middle class. It's reality and shielding from reality. Sunny in Reading says working class traditionally refers to people in blue-collar, manual, physical labour like construction, manufacturing, trucking, or pink-collar service jobs, retail, caregiving, hospitality, food service. These roles often involve hourly wages, physical effort, and less control over work conditions. That's very well summarised there, Sunny. Well done. Working class is anyone who works and contributes to the pot. Why is class such an issue anyway? It's for people who are empty. That's Mark's view. And I think you're right. The identity politics, the tags, I need to sort of, you know, earn my stripes by being a thing. No one cares. Just be good. Right. OK, we're going to take a break now. Then after the break, we're joined by the brilliant Phil Dave, who some days is my boss and some days he isn't. He's not my boss today, so I'm going to give him a good old grilling. I'm going to, you know, put him through his paces as my interview subject. Yeah, come on, put him up, Dave. Put him up, Dave. He's coming up just after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, welcome back. Please, sir, be nice to me. I worked so hard at the trains, the tubes. I was a little bit late today and it wasn't my fault, it was TfL. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, this is Phil Dave, who right now is sitting here as my interviewee. He also does presenting. He also goes about grilling
Only
people
when they're
in
the
pubs.
right level of desperate, but yes.
No, I think you're a comedy genius and one of the most well-versed people in news. Also puts together one heck of a news lister, but at weekends is also the boss. He's just like, I don't know, he's multi-Phil.
I just say yes to everything and hope for the best, right?
You're like the talk Swiss Army knife.
Yeah,
You
I'll
know,
go with that.
What function are we going to pull out of you?
Oh, who knows? Maybe I'll be tweezers this evening or something. You know, because there are some Swiss Army now. I can't even say. Can't be
But it's not even weird out here. But let's get going on this.
You know, there are some Swiss Army knives with these little tweezers out the side of it, and people don't even realise they're there.
Oh, you can pull them out, the little bits.
Yeah. So maybe I'll be that. Maybe I'll be the. I'm going to be careful how I say this. Maybe I'll be the tool you didn't realise you needed.
Made by Starmer's dad. Yeah. But no, interesting. Talking about, before we talk about important, sad stuff, Swiss Army knives, though, there are a couple of things bother me about Swiss Army knives.
Only a couple of things?
Well, there's probably more if I really gave thought to this. But first of all, it's really hard getting the tools. But you don't know what the tools are. Actually, no, I'm thinking of loads of things. When you look at a Swiss Army knife, you're like, right, I want the serrated blade. You're like, I don't know which one that is. So you have to sort of try and open all of them. And it's really hard getting your thumbnail into that little crack.
Oh, if you've got no nails, it's a disaster.
Yeah, and they're really tough to get out. If you've got nails, it's a disaster, because then you basically don't have nails after opening a Swiss Army knife.
But at least you've got a file to file them.
Yeah, but the thing is, then the spring-loaded blade flies over. You know, it's a bit like corned beef cans, which are designed to shred your fingers.
Yeah.
Swiss Army knives are just sort of spring-loaded, impossible to open, potential self-harming weapons.
Yeah. No, I mean, I must admit, when Dean asked me to join you this evening, I could never have imagined talking about Swiss Army knives, but I'll go with it. I agree with you completely. Have
you been listening to Weird Hour for the last week and a half?
Bits of it, yeah. It's come a bit early, isn't it, really?
Yeah, well, you know, that's because you came in. And I'm afraid you bring an aura of weird.
Somehow.
Well, you bring an aura of weird with you. You know, you're actually dressed very conventionally.
Oh, no, well, it's primarily because I just realised that maybe I overdo it slightly when going on air. I do dress a bit like a Victorian when I'm on air.
I love it.
I dress like a Victorian off air as well.
My favourite boss from 1822 is what you are. Right, now we've come to talk about other things, because actually your Swiss Army function today is to be the Jewish knife, but I don't really know.
But I know you say it in jest, but I take it as it's meant to be, and you're quite right. It is because obviously the news today has been a bit depressing, a bit morbid for those who are of the Jewish community, of which I'm lucky enough to call myself part of. So, yeah.
By the way, the Jewish must have a Jewish knife, because you do Jewish things with Jewish knives, do you not?
I guess if you're talking about maybe sort of kosher and stuff like that, then yeah, maybe, but
do you not have a name for a Jewish knife? No?
Well, if you do, I don't know what it is.
No.
So
OK, shame.
Maybe.
I wanted the factoid.
I can look it up and see what it is in Hebrew if you want, but
yeah, no, because I'm sure don't you have one for like circumcisions or something like a special named knife? I don't know.
I don't personally have one for it, but yes, I dare.
That's not what you do.
I dare say it exists, but it's not what I choose to do with any sort of.
One of your the skill sets.
Yes. All the multitasking, that is certainly not one of them.
Not one of them. Right, let's get back to serious, because we have learned that there have been a huge rise in anti-Semitic incidents after the Manchester synagogue attack. What is so sick about this is every time something happens against Israel or against the Jewish community, instead of it serving as a warning that, wow, things are getting out of hand, this is disgusting, we mustn't let history repeat itself, it seems to constantly be an emboldening factor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I tell you exactly, there are so many factors at play as to why that is the case. I mean, certainly when it comes to the whole attack on the Manchester synagogue, that is because the consequences, whatever consequences were, will never ever be serious enough, you know, until you actually sort of say, if you're going to attack any community in this country, regardless of whether they're Jewish, if they're Christian, if they're Muslim, Hindu, whoever it is, if you are going to attack someone purely on the basis of their religion and you're going to try and kill them on the basis of their religion, you will be locked up indefinitely. Well, then nothing's going to change. And unfortunately, when it comes to Judaism, there's only one religion that fares worse than that, and that's Christianity. So Judaism is probably second to the bottom of the list. Christianity is at the bottom of the list in terms of how people are punished if they are racist. Because funnily enough, you can be racist against Christians. You'd never know it living in this country, but you absolutely can. And there is nothing that makes me more sick as the way that it is just normalised to constantly attack Christianity and then attack Judaism. So I'm afraid it doesn't surprise me in the slightest. Now, I know that your Christianity means a lot to you, exactly the same way my Judaism means a lot to me.
We've got a Venn diagram of a book. We have one.
Yeah,
We
well,
got that
absolutely.
OT.
Well, look, it's variation on a theme, let's be honest. But this is what the irony is that actually Islam is variation on a theme as well. It's all Abrahamic faith, but there are just is a small faction of society that seems to interpret it in a very different way, and as a result of it, use it as an excuse to behave however the heck they want. And unfortunately, we have spineless politicians who decide that they are going to treat certain members of certain communities with a certain element of reverence, if you like, because they are beyond punishment, they're beyond being attacked, because if you so much as say one thing against them, you're deemed as racist. And that's what the biggest problem is.
But also the problem is they tend to be, I'm afraid to say, they tend to be the aggressors. And I think we need to be open.
Yeah,
So,
definitely some.
I always say, it is patently obvious, not all Muslims, unpalatable terrorist extremists. Of course they're not. There's millions of them living in the UK. You can tell that the vast, vast majority are peaceniks and perfectly decent people. That is obvious.
And the problem is because we don't distinguish between the two. So you've got the Islamists, who are the fundamentalists, the extremists. They're the ones who say, in the name of Islam, they're going to carry out these heinous attacks, these terrorists, these killings, and whatever the heck you want to say. That's what they do. But then you've got Islam, which is actually sort of the core of Islam, is a peaceful religion. And even though I understand why people say, but hang on a second, if it was that peaceful, why don't they speak out against the fundamentalists?
Why?
And I would argue that it's actually for exactly the same reason that many other people don't speak out against it. It's because they're also scared. And it's because in the eyes of those who are true Muslims, they fear the fundamentalists just as much as anyone from any other religion does as well. So I could very easily sit here and say, I don't fear a fundamentalist, but I'll tell you for nothing, if a fundamentalist comes wielding a knife towards me or a gun, you're damn right I'm going to be scared of them because I don't want to die. And it's exactly the same with anyone else who follows Islam. But if we were to sort of pull it back slightly, just to sort of the point at the rise of anti-Semitism, I think there are multi-factors to this. I think that the number one is that there isn't a suitable punishment. We've already covered that. But actually, I think the other reason for it is because there is this widespread belief that there is an impossibility to being racist towards someone who's got white skin. This seems to be sort of like a fundamental, if you like, belief system in this country that you can't possibly be racist to someone who's white, and the vast majority of Jewish people in this country are white.
But there's also something else that's going on here, because you're talking about, you can be as horrible as you like about Christianity and nothing happens to you. Too true. But actually, I think that the people who've paid the price for that it's society at large, but very much the non-Christians. Because, well, once you've sort of taken Christianity out of the UK, you realise you've got this massive vacuum that gets filled with blimmin' pronouns and all of that nonsense, and instead of Jesus you've got Greta Thunberg. So there you go, well done. If you're going to get rid of God, you better have something decent to replace him with. But it's very different because people aren't actively going and saying Christians are evil, I want to murder them because they're Christians. That is what's going on when it comes to the attacks against the Jewish community.
Absolutely.
Singled out simply because you are Jewish. Now, I blimmin' love the Jewish community. Sometimes I'm jealous. I want to be a Jew. It's so much fun. You got like such good,
It's not all that.
good dinner regimes. I loved when I went to Shabbat.
Oh, I don't deny that the culture is very nice.
Yeah, when I went to Shabbat in Israel, I'm like, this is the best thing ever. So great. I loved Israel. I'm going to go back again soon.
Oh, I'm off in May. Believe me, I can't wait.
I'm off in March.
Well, there you go.
Beat you to the punch.
But look, it's very simple. It's not only those two things that I've mentioned, but actually there is a third thing which is very unpopular of me to say, and there's a lot of people who have a go at me for saying this as well. But I'm just going to say how I see it anyway, and that is actually that unfortunately the Jewish, if you like, mentality is to fall too easily into the victim culture. So rather than actually to stand up and say, how dare you talk to me like that, that is not happening, I will stand up against you and I will fight against you and show you what for, it's more, okay, quick, hide away, quick, don't show you're Jewish. And then that's exactly what they want. They want Judaism to disappear. That is exactly what they're after. So in exactly the same way, after we saw what we saw on the 7th of October in 2023, the reason why Israel has done so well is because it was a case of the mentality of saying, no more. You start with Israel, and we'll show you what we're made of.
I mean, crisis necessitates innovation as well. And if there's one thing about Israel, I mean, they've got a glut of Nobel Prizes, a ridiculous amount per capita. And the Jewish community internationally have just been extremely successful. Work hard, high intelligence, in the creative industries, in banking, in all sorts. But when you're talking then about, people hiding their Jewishness, it's an interesting thing because when I was actually in Israel, I didn't realise mean, seriously, I didn't realise about the sort of variation of Jewishness. When you go to Israel, it's like you've got women with these amazing sort of turban-style headdresses. I'm like, whoa, what's that? That looks cool. The sort of hippie sort of dreadlocky.
I don't think it's born out of hippiness, but yes, I suppose.
I don't know. To me, it looks, the great thing about Jews, despite you say they often fall into victimhood, they tend to be less offended than, let's say, other people.
Well, no, but this is the whole point. But that actually is precisely why people feel comfortable attacking Jewish people, is because they don't do that. They don't turn around and say, I'm offended by that. How dare you say that? It sort of goes into this automatic mode.
But that's a good thing.
I think it's a good thing because it's a sign of a civilised individual, civilised society, but at the same time it can be to the detriment, because if you're then going to start saying, all right, if someone doesn't like it, I'll just be quiet and go away because that's obviously going to keep the peace. Well, no, it doesn't keep the peace. What it does is it fuels the fire, because unfortunately, if you've got someone who is prepared to confront, if you've got someone who is prepared to be violent, if you've got someone who's prepared to pick on somebody purely based on their religion, then guess what? You need to fight proverbial fire with proverbial fire. You can't simply kowtow and say, oh, well, they'll come round to a Western way of thinking, like most Westerners do, by the way, which is just keep calm and carry on. You can't do that, because that is not the language that these individuals who carry these attacks out understand.
No, very true. Do you know, I want to stick on, we'll talk about Nigel Farage in a minute, but I want to stick on one more question to you, because I find it fascinating looking at situations in Israel. I was speaking to a good friend of mine the other day who said one of the biggest issues at the moment facing Israel domestically as a nation, not one of the biggest, but an issue, let's say, is the Orthodox community, and having conversations like we might be having, because many of the sort of very strict Orthodox communities don't go to work and have large families, and the welfare payments going to certain members of the Orthodox community who are deciding to have big families and not actually work. And it's like, oh, didn't know about these things.
Well, the Orthodoxy in Israel in particular, actually, they go one step further, and they are exempt, well, some of them are exempt from joining the IDF, which, to anyone who doesn't know, that actually it is compulsory for the vast majority of Israelis to join the Israeli Defence Force, regardless of whatever. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to go and fight on the front line, but it means you have to do military service. It's just, it's law in the country, because unfortunately it's necessary to defend the country to the last man, really. And so when you see certain members of society, in particular the Orthodoxy, who say, well, based on religious reasons, I don't believe in fighting, and therefore I actually believe in procreation, I should focus on procreation rather than fighting for my country that I'm lucky enough to live in, regardless if it's here or wherever else. Then the government turns around and say, yeah, OK, I can understand that. Yeah, you don't have to go fight. That's what's causing division. Right. It's the oldest form of rule. It's divide and conquer. And the reason why Israel has survived as long as it has as a relatively new country is because up until really quite recently, there was no such thing as divide and conquer. It was kind of a case of, you are an Israeli, everyone is the same. And it goes to demonstrate, if you treat everyone truly as equal, then funnily enough, that is the key to a civilised society.
That's a very, very, very wise point there. Let's have a little look earlier at Nigel Farage, who was heckled at the launch of the Reform Jewish Group.
This political organisation.
The Torah says to love the stranger, so we will want strangers in Egypt.
My ancestors fled pogroms. You incite our refugees.
Let him speak.
My mother didn't fight the Moses fascist in Cable Street for this. An attack on one minority is an attack on all. I'm right. You get
What on earth's going on there?
Dear. What an absolute embarrassment. I wouldn't care what their religion is. Whoever behaves like this deserves to be thrown out. I'm sorry, I don't see it at all. So it's just rude. You know, if you don't like Nigel Farage, funnily enough, don't attend an event where he's going to, funnily enough, be speaking. You know what I mean? It really is as simple as that. So I don't care who these people are. I don't care what they think they know. I don't care why they believe.
Apparently they're from this group called Narmod.
Right. Well, I'm very happy for them,
me
but
neither,
I couldn't care less. I genuinely couldn't care less. And all they've got is their moment in the spotlight. And how dare they actually try and undo the work that, obviously, Nigel has come under some sort of significant attack in recent months based on comments that he may or may not have said in the past. Look, I wasn't there personally, and as far as I'm concerned, I don't know what he said in the past. He says that, you know, that maybe he might have said something on a school playground, which he has since changed his mind, and I think people deserve a second chance. I think people are allowed to change their mind.
Kids still say mad stuff on the school playground.
Believe me, I've said things on the school playground that I would never dare repeat again, because I actually suddenly educated myself and realised what they meant and how offensive they were. So I don't really think, if the best you've got to attack Nigel Farage is going by what he said on the school playground, he's probably done okay for most of his adult life, really.
Very good point.
Well, no, because to be honest with you, if you can attack him for something he said in adult life, fine, okay, maybe there are lessons to be learned. But if the best you've got is something he said on the playground, well, then I'd say you're clutching at straws. So to these individuals who go around attacking him when he's actually launching an initiative that is categorically designed to prove how far he's moved away, I don't think he'd attend an event like that if he was purely anti-Semitic.
Of course
what
he wasn't.
nonsense.
So the man's not anti-Semitic. People have got short memories. I remember back in the UKIP days, he banged on and on and on about Judeo-Christian values. He kept saying Judeo-Christian values, and I know for a fact he still stands by that. Phil, thank you ever so much. By the way, Dan from Halifax has messaged saying a Jewish knife is known as a shashita or a shalaf.
Yes, okay, yeah, because you've got a... Well, there's shachita, which is like sort of the process of kosher, if you like. But yeah, okay, fair enough. I don't know. I'll look it up. It doesn't matter. I really don't think people care.
You're a rubbish Jew.
Well, what can I say?
We love you, Phil.
Maybe that's why I wasn't shouting at Nigel Farage allegedly the other night.
No, that's why. He's also still my boss sometimes, so I'm going to take that back.
Only sometimes.
Phil, Dave, thank you ever so much. Right, we're going to take a short break now. After the break, we're joined by the brilliant actor Charlie Lawson. Don't go anywhere.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is talk.
Now imagine not being at work and then coming back to work, or thinking you might come back to work, or maybe suspect you won't come back to work, but then finding out that you can't come back to work because they've definitely got rid of you in the meantime. Well, that is the fate that Charlie Lawson, who's one of the best actors in Coronation Street, faced. Because his character, Jim McDonald, has finally been killed off. And Charlie thinks it's probably because, well, guess what? He ain't woke. It is the fate that is faced by those of us who have to come up close and personal with cancel culture. Let's remind ourselves of Charlie playing the iconic character of Jim McDonald.
Yeah? Hi. Listen, sorry just to drop in on you like this, but we've just seen your house in the estate agent's window. I was wondering if we could have a wee look around. My name's McDonald, but everyone calls me Mac.
Oh, I don't want to stand up row with the neighbours before we've moved in.
Oh, fine. Well, I'll tell you this and I'll tell you no more, Mrs. Wilton. The day you see the night shift trooping out of my front door and throwing their empty fag packets in your garden, then you can complain, but not until then. Do you understand me?
I've had enough mutton with our jar. No, I fancy a bit of spring lamb, you know, if I were going to go gallivanting.
Well, I'd be the wrong man for you then, Vera, eh?
I don't know.
Yeah, yes, but I do. You know, if you were my son, I'd give you such a dig.
You do? What? What would you do, eh? Hit me?
Oh, Jim! Jim! We all wanted Jim to come back. What's gone on? Charlie Lawson joins us now. Hi, Charlie. How are you doing?
How you doing, Alex? I'm sorry I haven't dressed up for you, darling, but I've just been out with the dog and it's throwing it down here.
Oh, you look lovely. I think that's quite suave looking there, if I'm honest with you, Charlie. I think you look better looking than I do right now.
Oh, darling.
Oh, so Jim, there will be no more Jim.
No, listen, we'll cut to the chase here, Alex. You know, I'm the most returned character playing by the same actor. So I left permanently in, oh God, a long time ago. I've been back about 7 or 8 times, but the last time they brought him back, it was a stupid storyline, and it's something. It was Jim was getting dragged downhill. The character was getting dragged downhill. And I didn't enjoy it. I played it as best I could. I'd agreed to play Rebus for Rankin in the theatre, so they had to condense the story down. But it's still, Jim would never go back and try to rip off his beloved wife, Elizabeth, so it was just a bit daft. Plus the fact they gave him myotonic dystrophy, so he was limping about. So gone were the days of the 90s when he was fighting every night and shouting and roaring and being a proper fella. So I think the point you're coming to is when they phoned me in September last year and said they spoke to my agent, which was actually quite polite of them because they'd gotten a serious SHI1T the year before because they sacked Bruce Jones and he found out in the Sunday People. So they actually phoned me because I think they knew what the reaction would be if they did the same to me. And they told me, and I said, right, fair enough, let's call it a day because you don't want to drag him down the way he's going. And if I'd gone back now, he'd be dribbling about and bloody limping about and just be a pathetic twat.
Oh, how would you have rather seen the end of Jim McDonald? What would have been going out in a blaze of glory?
A gunfight at the OK Corral or something like that. You know what I mean? Something proper, getting murdered properly, or you know, whatever, but not just limping about, wetting himself.
I'll tell you what you could have done. You could have grown a big ginger beard and become a Muslim convert. That would have been very 2026.
I could have put a trendy scarf on and everyone said, what the name of God he's wearing? You know what I mean? I could have put one of them and I could have been waving a Pally flag.
Exactly. I was going to say, have they had the pro-Palestine demos in Weatherfield yet?
Well, it'll not be long, let me tell you. Mind you, they've always been, I mean, one thing about Korea, and don't get me wrong, Alex, I love my time there, but Northern Ireland was never mentioned, and certain things are just not touched at all. And I think that's probably wise, because you know which side they'd fall on anyway. And I'd get the script and be told to be waving a pally flag down the street, and I'd be sacked.
Do you think that another part of the reason why they just decided to give your character a very niche medical condition is because, you know, you're not part of their lefty liberal club?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Debbie would watch it most nights. I don't watch it, Alex, so because it annoys me, because you and I, as you know, are very
Not mine, sorry, he's not allowed to say it.
Oh, I apologise to all your listeners and
apologise to Compliance Claire for me. Say, I'm very sorry, Compliance Claire, for getting Alex into trouble.
I'm so sorry, Appliance Claire, for getting Alex into so much trouble.
Thank you.
Darling.
Actually, that's almost like how Compliance Claire speaks.
It probably is. I mean, I've met them.
She's great. We love her.
No, but yeah. So, but the question is asked regularly, and I say now, well, where would you put him, for God's sake? Because, and this is not meant to be in any way controversial. It's just the truth. If you said LGBTQWXYZ to Jim McDonald, the response would be, I think you know what, and I won't say it on.
Yeah, if anything that you say that's not on the Ofcom approved words list, you're just going to have to, you know, to say apologies to Compliance Claire every time, because then otherwise I'll get into trouble, and you don't want that, do you?
No, and he just doesn't fit in. So it was a blessed relief to hear that he would just die, because if they brought him back, he would have had myotonic dystrophy in extremis, and he would have been a dribbling wreck, and and also they couldn't afford me.
Do you know what would have been a really good twist to the storyline is if old Jim had found out he had been going down to Epstein Island or something, you know, sort of make Coronation Street follow the current affairs agenda.
Do you know what I was thinking the other day, and watching you earlier on? Politics in this country has descended into mediocrity beyond belief. I've been listening to dear Keir. He couldn't lead you to Marks and Spencer's, and there's nobody any better, for God's sake. And we have this entire Epstein thing, which is brutally horrible and revolting, whatever. It's taking over everything, and we're forgetting about what is going on in our own country. And I know you've said this. I don't want to hear about him and Mandelson. I want to hear about the details of two boys being stabbed. I want to hear about a 12-year-old girl being raped. I want to hear about stuff that's important to us, not some silly pillock who's dead now. And you know, it's starting to, you know, annoy me. I forget him. Peter Mandelson is a wet blanket. All right, just get him out of here, for Christ's sake, and let's get on with politics.
No, I agree with you. Do you think it's weird, actually, that this horrible terror attack, always not been labelled a terror attack, has happened at a school in London, and just no one's talking about it, really? It's like, oh, let's talk about whether or not Starmer's going to survive, how left-wing he's going to become, if Angela Rayner's going to make a leadership bid. I'm like, this is really serious. This is absolutely terrifying.
Yes, it is, and I think it's deeply... although I'm not entirely surprised that we're not being told the whole details about, because we all know what the people talk about and don't mention, they're not allowed to mention. However, I listen to Alex, to be honest, I'm not sure whether or not you can actually call a 13-year-old a terrorist. It's kind of, I don't know. Now, allegedly, he was shouting this and shouting that and all the rest of it. But, you know, he was 13 or whatever. But irrespective of that, I want to know more about the detail. I'm not interested in switching onto what some strange person in America. I think we should be talking about Epstein's victims, not, you know, the girls, for Christ's sake. And I think the Attorney General, what's her name, Bondi or whatever, I think she made
Pam Bondi.
Yeah, I think she made a great mistake tonight by not you know, turning around and showing a bit of respect to those victims. But that's just, I digress slightly. But there are more, I think the most important thing is there are more important things to discuss than just that Keir Starmer's crap, because we just know he is.
Actually, that's not news anymore. That's sort of established fact at this point. Oh, Charlie, I remember we did an interview during the breakfast show at weekends, and we had such a good time, and it's been great to catch up with you again, my love.
And you, darling,
thanks,
you know
Charlie.
where I am.
Thanks, my love. Blimey, did he say another Ofcom prohibited word? And then I remembered we're not actually going out on the radio, so does that mean we can get away with it? Yeah, there you go. It's all good, isn't it? Right, that was the brilliant Charlie Lawson. Isn't he fun? I'd love to go down the pub with Charlie, I'll tell you that much. You know what's coming up? Weird Hour! That's right, I can't wait for this. It's going to be me and Leo Kirst talking about, well, in theory, we've got some news stories, but you know how Weird Hour goes. If you don't, then strap yourselves in and a three-fingered gin and tonic. I can't believe that's the first time I've said that tonight. Get your three-fingered gin. Get your stout. You can tell I'm an old school girl at heart, yeah, stout. I don't mean Guinness, I mean a proper stout, or a porter, even better. Get them all poured and ready. But in the meantime, by the way, I want to show you a brilliant clip, because Samara Gill, who I love, genuinely, I just love her. I think she's like the most beautiful person I've ever seen, and she's so much fun, and she's so clever, and I just love her. I'm going to try and get rid of her fiancé. That's right, good luck, Ilya. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Brilliant Samara has actually been doing an exclusive interview for Talk Women, which comes out tomorrow on YouTube, with the social media sensation Emily Austin, who went absolutely tonto for being massively anti-woke at the Grammys. Let's have a look.
Billy won a Grammy and you dropped $20K for a ticket. I was invited, and I'm going to be invited again next year, so y'all better keep those tears ready for another year.
Piers Morgan, he says that woke is dead. Now, that's the main thing I think he's gotten wrong there.
The night of the election, there's one thing we learned as a country. Nobody values the opinion of a celebrity. I don't know about Sadiq. He's the keyboard warrior. Whoa. He's the one that talks and doesn't do anything. You want to talk about an anti-American performance? That was Kendrick Lamar last year. Kendrick, who was speaking English, I didn't understand the word of what he said either. I have a list of things wrong with Mamdani, and being Muslim is not even on that list.
It could be, quite frankly, the death of New York City as we know it.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Oh, guys, it's time! Have you poured your three-finger gin and tonic? Have you got your lager in a glass? Are you, like, you know, going swivel-eyed with excitement because Weird Hour is upon us again? And this time, I've been so excited about this. Ever since I got the news that he had been booked, I've just literally been like, ants in my pants. It's Leo Curse. Oh, Leo, my boy.
Yeah, Alex, it's great to be here.
I know. Now, we had a little trip together, didn't we, last year?
Did.
We went on a little hollybobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Little honeymoon to
Israel. We did. We went on a little right-wing trip to Israel. It was very serious. It was actually, we saw some really distressing stuff. I mean, utterly, you cannot...
I'll never forget that buffet bar.
I was going to say I'd never forget the time we met the survivors at the Nova Festival.
Oh, there was that as well. Yeah, there was that as well. That was traumatic as well.
You mean the 18th floor?
Yeah.
I loved that 18th floor. Although when we were on the trip, the 18th floor in the hotel we're staying in Tel Aviv was sort of perma-open with like hummus and cheeses and pastries and all the alcohol you could imagine.
Yeah.
And I was the only person on the trip drinking. Everyone else seemed to be having some sort of weird health kick.
Yeah. But what a fascinating trip. I mean, I went there with so many, preconceptions about Palestinians, and it was great to have them all confirmed.
Oh, we got baptised together as well.
Yeah. In the River Jordan.
Yeah. Have you been doing your Bible homework?
Yeah, well, I don't need to. Baptised in the River Jordan. Surely that does you for like 20 years at least.
Yeah, automatic. Do you need a top-up, do you reckon? At some point we're going to have to schedule our trip back. It was so good. I mean, it was actually, to be honest, during that trip that I realised how funny you were. Not that you weren't funny before, but actually just spending round-the-clock time with you, I was just like, he's just constantly on Funsterland. Yeah, I love that. Now, someone else I think is joining Funsterland, at least that's my interpretation, Jim Ratcliffe. Let's have a little clip of Jim, who's decided to, let's say, proverbially stick his head above the parapet when it comes to political debate in the UK.
I don't know whether it's just the apparatus that hasn't allowed Keir to do it, or he's maybe too nice. He's a nice... I mean, I know Keir, he's a nice man, I like him. But it's a tough job, and I think you have to do some difficult things with the UK to get it back on track, because at the moment I don't think the economy is in a good... You can't afford... you can't have an economy with 9 million people on benefits and huge levels of immigrants coming in. I mean, the UK is being colonised. It's costing too much money. It will cause...
It's been colonised?
It'll cause... Well, yeah. The UK is being colonised by immigrants, really, isn't it?
Off like a sort of boring, not boring interview, but well, too many people on. And then out comes the word colonised, and it's like, whoa!
Yeah, but I mean, I can't find a lie in what he says.
No.
He's saying the truth, and we've seen other business leaders like Larry Fink. I think Peter Thiel has maybe said this as well. So these are billionaires as well. I mean, Jim Ratcliffe is worth what, £14 billion.
He's basically got more money than the UK economy right now. Let's be fair.
I think our exit strategy is just to all move into his house. But these business leaders like Larry Fink has said that the countries that didn't embrace mass immigration are going to be the ones that are best set to go forward into this century, because they won't be burdened by millions and millions of dependents. Because we're not bringing... I mean, there's a lot of people who come to Britain and contribute, and that's great, and they fit in, they work hard. But then there's also a lot of people who come here just to have a better life for themselves. They out of desire for a better life, which quite often means suckling at the teat of the state. My mate is a police officer in Birmingham. He's Muslim, and he says from his extended family, like 80% of them claim benefits, and it's seen as like a baseline. You just you get your free housing, your benefits, and then anything you can earn on top of that is a bonus.
It's so crazy. I actually, I remember watching, going down my wormholes online and seeing an imam basically saying, we're superior to them, they do the work for us, and then we can, we can come into their country and have all the benefits because they're basically our slaves. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So actually, that is colonisation, isn't it? Let's be fair, with that sort of mental attitude.
And it's being done with the complicity of our leaders who should be looking after Britain first and looking after us.
Not the Britain first. Maybe them as well. But no, it's utterly mad. And we're getting more and more mental by the second on this one. I mean, this is utterly insane. Stop discouraging first cousin marriage.
Yeah.
What, we're supposed to encourage it instead? Do you fancy your cousin, Leo?
I mean,
What's she like?
My cousin, I've got two cousins. They're quite attractive. So,
do you fancy a two-headed baby?
No. Well, this is the thing. The NHS advice is actually incorrect. How come a Scottish comedian knows more about healthcare outcomes than the NHS does? Because the NHS says that cousin marriage only marginally increases the risk of deformities, but they're not taking into account the fact that if you've got generation after generation after generation marrying their cousin, then you are building up to two-headed baby zone. You know what I mean? So it's not about the, if this was a one-off, then maybe it wouldn't matter so much. But if you've got the same families interbreeding, like generation after generation after generation,
you end up like with a Habsburg jaw. We did that in Europe.
Absolutely.
We played that game. We realised it wasn't fun anymore.
Yeah.
We got mad tyrannical rulers obsessed with clocks and just went, wow, should we stop interbreeding? Yeah, let's.
Yeah, that was hundreds of years ago. And people always bring it up as like, oh, but Prince Albert, and it's like, yeah, that was hundreds of years ago. We're not doing it anymore because we know better. But one of the things that I think is like, I don't really want, like, if these people want to marry their cousins, I'm all for it. Like, if there is going to be some sort of civilizational showdown, I am fine if they've all got two heads. That is...
Right, I know. I see what we're getting to here. Like, if evolution takes its course and then all of a sudden there's a Mad Max fight for Europe, it's like, well, there you go. We've got nobody anymore because we've stopped breeding and your troops are all, well, they can't do anything anyway. But it is weird, and what I can't wrap my head around is, I don't know if it's just biologically built into me. The idea of finding a cousin attractive is just... Well,
you sound like you've got ugly cousins. Let me tell you, some people...
Sorry, Dan. He's one of my best mates, my cousin Dan. It's lovely. But I don't want to...
I've got attractive cousins, but, I wouldn't marry them. Because they don't want to marry me. No, I mean, I wouldn't marry my cousins. Like, because, I mean, it's not a British thing. It's not a British thing. Well, it used to not be a British thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I just find it absolutely
And in fact, where I grew up is where the bicycle was invented by Kirkpatrick Macmillan.
Where the bicycle was invented.
The bicycle was invented, and this did a lot to reduce cousin marriage, genuinely, because people.
Wait, hold on. The links to. So where did you grow up?
I grew up like Money Ive and Pen Punt in the Dumfriesshire Hills.
Yeah, I don't know what you said until Dumfriesshire, and I've heard of that. The hills
Right.
is the word I recognise. So, and they invented is this like a surefire claim, or are you just
This is a genuine thing. You can go. There's a plaque and everything. There's probably a little museum and stuff. I've never been to it, but Kirkpatrick Macmillan lived in Keir, which is near Pen Punt.
Keir Starmer.
Yeah. And Kirkpatrick Macmillan invented this bicycle. I don't think it had like sort of wooden things that you shifted like that.
So it's actually more like a cross
chain.
trainer.
Like a sort of, like a cross trainer, like a hobby horse cross trainer thing. And it meant that people could leave the valley to go to the next valley over, so you didn't have to marry your cousin anymore.
Oh, well, look at that.
Yeah.
That's really useful.
So across Scotland, across Britain, it contributed, because a lot of cousin marriage was just about logistics. If you're living in an era where you've got to walk to go on a date, then that's going to be difficult.
That's going to be difficult. I don't know why you guys didn't bring this up in the independence referendum. You might just have won it if you said, well, we invented the bicycle and stopped interbreeding.
Well, I think a lot of the SNP candidates were offspring of cousin marriage, so...
Yeah, well, I mean, all that Mac stuff, there must be a lot of... Because you're not a muck something.
No,
Is that
I'm not.
because you're not cousin married?
Well, also my parents are mostly English, so...
Oh, so you just sort of inherited an accent from the ether?
I grew up in Scotland.
Yeah, I like the Scottish accent.
Do
you know what is weird? For ages, I thought you were a Geordie. I don't know why. I used to live in Newcastle.
Oh
I think it's because you don't have a muck. And for ages in my head, you were a Geordie. And I think it's literally before going to Israel, when it says, oh, you know Leocas, the Scottish comedian. And I was like, you mean the Geordie comedian? The Louis Tour Geordie comedian? They were like,
way.
Scottish? And I'm like, what? Yeah.
So just everything north of like Watford to you is just one blob.
What's it saying is my dad's from the North East.
Oh, right.
And I went to university in the North East, and I worked in the North East. And I don't know, maybe it's because I like you so much that I just automatically assumed you were not Scottish. Let's talk about love lives, shall we?
Yeah.
How's yours?
It's great.
Yeah, you're married.
Married.
All good. Kids good.
Kids great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I genuinely recommend getting married. I know it's falling out of fashion with people, but I think men respond to duty well. Women respond to having babies well. It's a lot of my single friends are insane because they don't have kids, because they're not married.
Single people are sad people.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm one of them, so
No,
I know.
You're not a sad one, but I know.
You don't. I cry in the bath a lot. I do.
It's a good place to do it.
It's the best place.
It's just going to fill the water up a
your
bit
makeup's already off anyway.
Yeah.
You can't get your clothes wet, so you just get it all out in the bathtub, I say. But yeah, no, Gen Z. Do you ever notice people always say Gen Z, not Gen Z?
Yeah.
I don't like that.
I thought it was a rapper.
It sounds like a rap. Like rappers have got like rubbish names these days. They used to have like good names. Like
that documentary on Puff Daddy ruined rap for me, because it used to be all these gangsters being like, yeah, guns and hoes or whatever. Hoes, they're talking about the gardening. But then I found out they were actually having to do things to Puff Daddy, who's very much the Harvey Weinstein of the rap community. Yeah. To get it takes some of the gangster sheen off it when they've had to give Puff Daddy a little fumble.
Exactly. It does sort of make them seem a little less sort of assertive and masculine when they've had to sort of get on all fours with a bottle of baby lotion.
Yeah.
It's not really the look, is it? But at least they had good names.
Yeah.
Back then, I'm trying to think of some of them.
Cypress Hill.
Cypress Hill. I mean, that's just mystic. I like the sound of Cypress Hill. Flavor Flav. LL Cool J.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nate's Dogg. There's a lot of dogs going on. Snoop Dogg, Nate Dogg. But now you've got this person I've never heard of until he, I don't know, popped up on the news the other day called Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny. I assumed it was a woman. Because it's a bunny.
It's a bunny. Like, it's just such a rubbish name.
Yeah.
I'm very disappointed in the direction of travel of rap. I preferred it when it was packed full of violence and misogyny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up with that. It was good.
The good old days when we had traditional values of violence and misogyny.
Exactly. Bring that back. But Gen Z are begrudging online dating, don't we all? Because almost half don't know how else to meet someone. I mean, it's just become a phenomenon that no one knows, because I feel like I don't know how to meet someone now. Yeah. I'm sort of relatively newly single, not really enjoying it, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, I mean, dating apps are good, but I mean, the thing is, like, I think with dating apps, it's very easy for people to say no, and I think they perhaps pass over candidates that they should really give a chance to. That's
true, because sometimes you realise that some of your weird untowards crushes are people who, if you're just shown a photo, you'd be like, nah, not so much.
Yeah.
And then for some reason, they sort of like, you get hooked on them. Like, who's your weird celebrity crush? Have you got a weird celebrity
crush.
like, you're kind of like, I really shouldn't, but I kind of do.
No, I can't think of it. I can't think of a weird celebrity
crush. This is what married life does.
Yeah, you're not allowed. All thoughts of other women go out your head, so it's, but yeah, weird celebrity crush. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Have you got
like,
a historic one?
Growing up in the 80s, there's people like Joanna Lumley. You know what I mean? And
that's not even weird.
It
that's
probably
just
still is. It probably still is Joanna Lumley,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think everyone fancies Joanna Lumley, male or female, for whatever reason. She is a beguiling character. I think my weirdest, most of mine are a bit weird, but my weirdest to date's probably Michel Roux Jr.
Right. Oh, the chef.
Yeah.
Is he the guy who smokes when he's making a salad and stuff?
I don't think he smokes. He seems very clean cut.
Oh, really?
But he just seems like he's such a nice man.
Right.
He's got happiness in his eyes.
He's not the guy with the tattoos and everything.
No, I don't know who that one is.
Someone else.
Oh, are you thinking of like the... I mean, there was Keith Floyd, who was always in France, getting absolutely off his trolley.
Keith Floyd was amazing.
I know, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He must be dead.
He is dead, unfortunately.
Yeah, that liver couldn't have held out for that long.
It was quite serious.
Oh, it was always like, getting out the vino, cooking, bit in there. I loved him.
What I loved about Keith Floyd is sometimes the recipes would go wrong. I remember watching him bake a fish in salt, and when he went to like crack open the salt, the fish was just ruined. It was so funny. You never see that now. Now everything's just absolutely slickly perfect. Whereas Keith Floyd, you'd just be watching a man get drunk, ruin a fish.
And like everything else in the world of celebrities used to be fun. Now they're moaning about turkey twizzlers, or moaning about the Conservatives, and now moaning about the hospitality industry. We shouldn't have moaned about the Conservatives, and he would have had blimmin' Labour.
When celebrities go into like political activism, especially when it's with the Hollywood celebrities, when they're doing the anti-ICE at the Grammys, and you know, Bad Bunny being like, you know, oh, we should, you know, I'm like, well, fine. Or Mark Ruffalo's always like, we need to have socialism. Okay, we'll have socialism on your films then. So you get paid $25 million. Well, the great news is now you're getting paid $100,000, and everyone on your films
now
get
you're
paid
all on
100,000.
minimum wage.
This is how socialism works, Mark. If you want to try it, let's do that.
Yeah, Mark Ruffalo disappoints me because he hasn't got a left-wing face.
No.
I feel like he's got a right-wing face.
He's getting more left wing. He's getting that sort of real glum. Glum,
sort
overweight.
of the padded soft features. I always feel right-wing people have distinguished features.
Exactly, because who was it, Wittgenstein, that said that aesthetics and morality are exactly the same? That's why right-wing people are always better looking.
They are! It's so true, especially, I must say, right-wing women.
Yeah.
You don't really find many really minging right-wing women. They usually are quite attractive people.
Absolutely, because left-wing women can always, they blame society.
For being ugly.
Yeah, or like, you know, oh, well, it's not, I'm not fat, being fat is beautiful, and we've got to change society to think that, you know, being fat is beautiful. Whereas a right-wing woman will be like, I'm fat, I need to get down the gym.
Left-wing women are basically the female equivalent of incels, aren't they? It's like, I hate the world, down with the patriarchy because no one wants to snog you, love.
Do you think we could bring the incels and the left-wing women together?
Oh my gosh, this would solve so many problems. But actually, the interesting thing that is happening with incels is the ones that become the Muslim converts. There's definitely like a conveyor belt.
Yeah,
and the common factor is gingerism.
Yeah,
I say that, my mum's a redhead, so, you know, I feel like I've got diplomatic immunity. Is it just that men have secret ginger beards and they don't know until they grow them out? Or is it because, you know, because they're ginger, they feel like they're at a disadvantage and they can get a free wife and a hijab if they become a Muslim? I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it's the alienation. Maybe they feel alienation from society because they get bullied for being ginger. Maybe it's because they don't get enough women, so they think, well, I'm going to go into this hardcore society where I'll be like given a woman. Effectively.
Yeah, that's it. And I can have more than one.
Yeah.
And I don't even have to try. I can just like demand one, and then I've got it, and it can be at home doing what I like.
Yeah, you're actually selling it to me.
If I was a fat ginger man, I'd probably go for it. Because actually, to be honest, you know, most of the disadvantages of, you know, being a Muslim extremist are for the women.
Yeah.
The men actually are living a great life, aren't they? They get to go and play in jihadi camps, hang out with the boys, do some team sport activities, do a bit of shooting, you know, get as many wives as you like. What's not, apart from not being able to drink, what's not to like?
Yeah, and also there's white liberal women now going into Islam as well, and they are going to ruin Islam. Whenever these people go in to an organisation, they destroy it. I am so looking forward to this. I don't think the imams know what's coming.
I love that. Yeah, do you think they're sort of undercover operatives secretly? They are going to ruin Islam. That's an exciting prospect.
As soon as I saw Tony Blair's sister-in-law like pop up in a hijab.
I love that. That's actually one of the greatest things. That's one of my favourite Tony Blair facts. After the lockdown mullet, which do you remember that thing? Every time I speak about Tony Blair, I have to remind people of the lockdown mullet.
Yeah.
He looks like, you know, when they cast someone in the sort of traditional 6-part drama series, and it's the character, there's been a murder, a kid's being kidnapped, and there's the weirdo in the village, so everyone just assumes it's that guy. Yeah. That's what Tony Blair looked like during lockdown. He looked like the sort of probable murderer who turns out to be... Actually, it reminds me of that Paul Gar... No, that's a... Sometimes I think I shouldn't make references. I was going to say it reminds me of that poor guy, the landlord, when that poor girl in Bristol got killed, and everyone thought it was the landlord because he.
Oh right,
might
he
have
looked
had
like Tony Blair.
Well, it just had slightly, you know, certain type of hair.
Yeah.
My Michel Roux Jr. story, though, so I've kind of fancied him from a distance for quite a while, and I once had a dream that he was chasing me around with a craft knife.
Right.
I don't know why, but I did. And so he's been sort of the forefront of my mind for a while now, and I came into work the other day, and I got into the lift, and it was him in the lift.
No way.
Yeah.
Did he have a knife?
He did not have a craft knife, and he was standing there talking to one of the producers on whatever floor he'd been on, doing something, or whoever he'd been meeting. And he was just lovely, so his lovely voice and his lovely temperament, and we came out the lift and walked through the atrium together. I didn't say anything.
Right.
I didn't know what to say. I guess, you know, when people sort of, when you're recognised and people come and tell you who you are.
It's
the weirdest thing. It's like, you're Alex Phillips. It's like, am I? I didn't know that. It's like literally the first thing that people say. Do you get that? Like, you're Leo Kearse.
Well, yeah, so, sometimes, like on Saturday, I had a guy come up to me and he's like, are you Leo Kearse? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I'm one of your biggest fans. It's like, I think one of my biggest fans would recognise my face. Wouldn't be like, is this Leo Kearse? You know
Do
what
you
I
know,
mean?
the other day I went into my local and I'd finished work and gone straight to my local on a Friday when we come off air at 9, because I now live in the West Country. If I rush really fast, I can get the train at 9:30 and I can be through the door of the pub just before 11, before last orders.
Nice.
So I'd done that. I'd pelted my way, got down the local, bam through the front door, at the bar. Tina, the barmaid's already got the drink mixed. My neighbour Mia's ordered it, and we're standing there. And then it was a busy night on a Friday, so it was more than just the usual locals, people I didn't know. And then someone came up to me and said, "You look like someone." And I was like, "Thanks." He said, "Seriously, like honestly, it's uncanny. You actually you look like this woman on TV." And I was like, "Oh, that is uncanny." He said, "Yeah, it's this person called Alex." And I was like, "Oh, really?" Yeah, you probably don't know her. And I was like, not that well. I think I've got a vague idea who she is. He said, "Oh, yeah." And the guy was speaking to me sort of tentatively, sort of going, "Yeah, no, but, you know, I don't want to offend you because you are like her." She's sort of like, you know, this right-wing journalist.
Right, yeah.
And I was like,
sounds horrible.
I know, because I live in a Lib Dem heavy area. It's
Right,
nice.
yeah.
There's no MyGo hotels in my area, so it's
That's
very
why
Lib
it's
Dem.
Lib Dem.
Yeah. It's so Lib Dem. There's
As soon as they get a
like-
few, this is how you turn people right wing. We should be campaigning for these hotels to be placed in all the Lib Dem areas.
No, because that'll be my area, up the road from me. Anyway, the guy was almost apologetic, and I was still in my coat because I'd rushed in through the door, off the train, driving home. So I was like, "Oh, that's. Don't worry, I'm not offended. Like everyone's got their own views." And I sort of zipped off my coat, and he went, "You are Alex Phillips." And I was like, "Hey!" It was just such a nice moment, but it was really strange having someone sort of speak to me gently, thinking I'm going to offend her, and then I was like, "Does that mean I've got a left-wing face?"
Yeah, maybe you do.
I don't think I do. I
No.
think it's a right-wing face.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think people assume that right-wing people are going to have mean, snarling faces because they're angry about something.
I tell you what the problem is, though. I had a stressful time last year. I got a really bad flu, ended up shingles all over my face twice, which was no fun.
Yeah.
You have to go to A&E for that stuff. And as a
Really?
result, yeah. Because if you get shingles in the face, it's like an infection of the nerves.
Right.
And it can go into the brain and kill you.
What?
Yeah, they wanted to put me on a sort of antiviral drip overnight and everything. Yeah, you don't be wanting that.
No.
Facial shingles aren't the one.
Right.
But I was just super under the weather all last year from getting this mad disease at inauguration, which is just like a sort of petri dish of infection.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what happened is my hair fell out a little bit as a result. And as a result, I've now got like one of those left-wing fringes, a mental illness fringe.
You need to dye it purple.
I know,
Yeah.
you know, a hairdresser in Manchester once told me if your fringe stops above your eyebrows, it's the first sign of clinical depression.
Yeah, if you've got that couple of inches, then you're going to get offended about something. You need to shave up one side of your head as well.
Yeah, they like that, the old undercut. That is definitely part of...
asymmetric.
Yeah. Yeah, what is that with? I mean, that's just official left-wing uniform, isn't it?
It's
You've got to have that weird piercing there.
Yeah, and now they've got chains going over the nose like that as well. Yeah, I've seen a lot of those.
Do you go and mingle with them down on their marches
I
and
see
stuff?
that they pop up on the internet sometimes when I'm looking at the internet, and I just wonder how they run through a net curtain. Like all those piercings, something is going to get caught.
I know. And also that can't be comfortable.
No.
I think it's, like, ugh. But, you know, I also think there's this one woman, I kind of want to get on the programme one day because I want to have a massive old debate with her. And she's just sort of, I don't even know what her name is, but she pops up everywhere banging on about how much she loves the migrants. She just loves them migrants so hard.
Zoe Gardner.
Oh, yes!
Zoe Gardner.
That's her!
Yeah.
Now, she's got a left-wing face.
Yeah, you know what she does?
Slightly sort of sorrowful eyes.
Because it's funny, she's very attractive, objectively attractive, but she's got a weird meanness to her face.
I think she's got sort of a doleful, like, the world's been horrible to me face.
Yeah.
But she is quite attractive. But because she's got the mean, doleful face, that means she's not right-wing.
Right.
Yeah.
You can tell. I think people like her, we need to put the migrants, we need to be campaigning for Glastonbury to accept illegal migrants.
I think people like her should go and do special performances at migrant hotels, you know, like Vera Lynn did, whatever it was, for the troops during the Second World War. They should go and cheer up the migrants down them hotels and see how they get on.
I think if migrants had free access to Glastonbury, if Glastonbury didn't have secure borders around it, then a lot of the people in Glastonbury would maybe change their opinions about
perhaps next year we tell the people of Glastonbury, give up your ticket for a migrant because they need some entertainment, and this looks like a refugee camp.
They don't need a ticket. Why would an illegal migrant need a ticket to get into a part of the land? Nobody is illegal on stolen land.
Nobody is illegal on stolen. Guys, were you nagging me in my ear to take a break or something? I was sort of half listening. Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, let's take a break then. Okay, right, guys, we're going to have a break now, but we'll be back in a moment.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Guys, he has spoken. Sir Keir has thoughts in his head. He's got opinions about Jim Ratcliffe. Guess what they are?
I bet he doesn't like it.
Doesn't like it. He didn't say he was a far-right thug.
Far-right thuggery.
I know, but apparently his comments are offensive and wrong.
Well,
How are they wrong?
They might be offensive, but they're not wrong.
They're not wrong.
I mean, we're constantly told that we need to decolonise Britain, decolonise the curriculum, decolonise the arts. And you know, who's it colonised by? If you look at the Middle East, if you look at the demographic changes, the spread of a particular religion. I mean, who's the colonizer?
That's
really?
true. If you decolonise Britain, which is what they want to do, there'd actually be nobody here.
Yeah.
And instead there's like gazillions of people and no one knows who they are.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, there you go. I mean, it was obvious that Sir Lego Head was going to come out. That's the other thing about the left wing. This lot.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's more the global socialists, the sort of cabal, the Davos lot. They all have hairstyles that don't move.
Yeah.
Like Starmer's hair doesn't move. You could put him in a wind tunnel, that don't move.
Yeah,
And I feel like Ursula von der Leyen might have the same hair, like an Elnet advert, like that I mean, I never knew people still got perms.
Yeah. Their heads are forged.
They are.
In the fires of Hades.
Do you think von der Leyen puts rollers in? Because who has that hair? My grandma had that hair before. She's quite an attractive woman, actually, so...
And she's got 5 kids. She's actually
Doesn't she have a couple of MyGo kids as well?
She's got what?
I think she might have 5 of her own. I think she got a few from other countries as well.
I think she's got 5 of her own. She might be importing some as well, just to sort of bring her own political policies to the house.
Yeah.
But yeah, having 5 kids plus achieving all that.
Yeah.
In the political world.
And
that's
very
impressive.
slight.
Yeah.
She doesn't look like she'd have been able to carry, let alone get out 5.
Yeah, she doesn't have those childbearing hips that we're told about. But good on her.
Well done.
Good on her for trying to repopulate Europe.
Got some good messages here. Clint says, you're my celebrity crush. Thank you. It's easier than you think to find a great date. Well, great. I can just ask on here, because Clint says we can meet up for dinner and I'll give you some tips over a few 3-fingered gins. Thank you. If you want to date me, it's 03444991000 or WhatsApp 87222 on text. Oh my God, that's desperate, actually.
I'm scared
if my ex is watching this, he's going to be air punching in victory. He's going to be like, yeah, you see, lonely now, aren't you? Stu in Guildford said, 90s hip-hop, now you're talking my language. Let's talk 90s hip-hop. 90s hip-hop, I think, was peak hip-hop.
Yeah, I went to see Cypress Hill. I think that was my first ever gig. I was like 15, went to see
What's your favourite 90s hip-hop banger?
Favourite 90s hip-hop? Maybe the Goats, No Glory.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, I think they're really good band, but I think they flew under the radar.
I feel like, most people would go for like a bit of No Diggity, Gangster's Paradise. I Got 5 on it by Dalunis. I know every single word.
Warren G. The Fresh Prince.
No, the Fresh Prince.
Maybe a bit of Vanilla Ice. To the extreme.
When I was living in Kenya, they used to, at one of these bars, do hip-hop karaoke. And because I was brought up on 90s hip-hop, there's so many of the rap songs that I know every single word.
Yeah.
So I would go, and all the Kenyans are saying, right, this little white girl come, take the microphone, and boom! Out I come. They loved it. They loved the cultural appropriation. Alex, can you please say hello to Adam in Hanwell? He's a massive fan of yours and currently off work due to ill health from Shane in South Wales. Thank you, Adam. Hanwell. Hi, love. What you got? Is it contagious? Are you all right? Did you do something to... I hope you get better soon. We love you. OK. Claire in Buckley says, Alex, my team in Liverpool are playing tonight. My team, Liverpool, not in Liverpool. I don't know where they're playing, but Liverpool are playing tonight. I was in a quandary not wanting to miss Weird Hour with you and Leo. I have the football on mute and you and Leo with the sound on the talk app. Large Chardonnay in hand. Yes! See, when we start taking over from the Premier League, you know that Weird Hour's worth its...
Yeah.
Shane has sent a message saying, you done more than get baptised together. Well, it's true. We went around on a bus. We went to some biblical sites.
Yeah.
Went to the IDF headquarters and watched unedited footage of October the 7th. That was harrowing.
Yeah, we went to some, and there's a bunch of us. We went to some places that people don't normally get to see. Like, we went to the West Bank, Samira and Judea, they call it. And it was like the Wild West. That's the frontier. Yeah. That's the frontier of civilization, where civilization meets. Then guys are walking around with guns on their hips. Even the saloon had the swing doors.
Oh yeah, really that saloon was great. That was a good burgers. I mean, I haven't eaten beef for years, but I was just like, get in that thing. It was amazing.
Is that a health reason?
I lived in India and I started to like cows.
You became part Hindi.
Well, yeah, do you know what? I was actually. I loved Hinduism for a long, long time. I still do. But it's kind of just a sad girl thing to do because cows are everywhere and I got used to seeing them. And in the morning I'd wake up, open my blinds and there'd be a cow and I'd want to touch its wet does.
But don't you think it's more ethical to eat a cow because you get loads of meat out of a cow than to eat like a guinea pig or a chicken?
I kind of see where you're coming from with this. The Indians actually have got... Because I said to them, what's all this? Why don't you eat the beef, though? And I sounded like, I don't know, like some from Little Britain. Then, why don't you eat the beef, though? Anyway,
it's a valid question.
Why don't you eat the beef? And they said, and I was the editor of my newspaper, Mr. Anamalai, he was called. He was amazing, like Oxford educated, really knowledgeable. He used to bring me into his office and explain to me all about Hinduism, culture. And he said, for us, it's really weird because we drink the milk.
Yeah.
And he said, it's really weird for one animal to drink the milk of another animal. And I was like, Yeah, I guess you're right on that. He said there's a very unique relationship between humans and cows. And he said, and also, you know, especially down here in the south of India, and for a long time, we didn't have horses pulling our carts. We had the male cows doing that, the bulls. And so we kind of think of them as the male cows work, and you've got dogs like man's best friend.
Yeah.
And the female cows feed us. So it's like mother and father. And would you eat your mother and father?
And that's why you don't eat them. That makes sense.
And it's like, we find it a bit gross that you drink the milk and eat the flesh. And I was like, oh, I thought it was all sacred stuff. It's like, well, sort of a little bit, but no, mainly it's that.
Yeah, well, I think the most ethical meat to eat would be whale meat. Everybody says, oh, you can't eat whales because they're, whatever it is, you know, they're smart. They don't seem that smart to me. I've never seen one
There's not many of them, are there?
I've never seen one do a crossword. But they're so big. You kill one whale, you're eating for like the rest of your life.
I mean, exactly. Don't they down North Pole and stuff have to like wee on it and things because there's too much to go around? You have to smoke it, wee on it, bury it.
Yeah. And also,
I don't know if that's true.
Everybody talks about sea levels rising. They're probably rising because nobody's eating the whales anymore. You've got all these massive whales in the water. If they got out, if we got the whales out of the water, the sea levels would be like...
Yeah, but we still sort that polar ice cap can melt as much as it like if we like keep eating whale meat.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, what we actually need is like a nice whale meat barbecue and some nice patio lights.
Yeah.
You know, patio lights at one point. No, the patio heaters.
Isn't it mad that like back in the old days, like our source of fat for the lights in London on the
was whale
gunk. People would go out in these boats, wooden boats, out in the freezing cold seas and risk dying, getting little boats, chuck spears in a whale, and that was the best way of getting some fat.
And then scoop the oil out of its neck or something.
Yeah, we didn't know that you could just like get sunflower seeds or whatever, you know, whatever plant.
When you licked an envelope, it was like dead whale and everything. Stamps dead whale.
Corsets were made out of the bones.
Everything was dead whale.
Everything was whale.
That's true. You'd go to your local park and they used to have whale jawbones. That used to be a thing, didn't it, back in the day? Yeah.
I've seen those. I don't think they're there anymore.
In fact, back in the Natural History Museum, you used to go in and it'd be like a big whale, and I was like, yeah, done now. We've got to get the dinosaurs back.
Yeah.
I like dinosaurs.
I like whaling.
Do you like whaling?
Yeah.
Have you been whaling?
I've never been. I've been to Norway.
Oh, what's it like up there?
It's nice in Norway.
Did you eat weird things?
I ate whale.
Oh, you ate whale?
Yeah,
What's it like?
I was surprised how nice it was. I was surprised how lean it was.
Are we talking like, is it white meat like, because I'm guessing, in my mind it's going to be like a red meat like tuna. It's going to be all steak-like and sort of slightly bloody.
It's not like fish at all. It's more like a beef.
Is it?
Yeah.
How do you have that prepared, mind? How was that done?
You know what? It actually wasn't prepared very well. It should have been fried in a hot pan, like a hot cast iron skillet. But you know when somebody goes to cook you a steak and they basically just steam it over a low heat, and the steak is ruined.
Yeah.
It was like that. But you know, it was they sold it in the supermarket. Somebody bought some. We were skiing. Somebody bought it. And was like, we're all like, well, let's eat some whales since you're allowed to do it here. I'll probably now get cancelled by the people for the ethical treatment of animals.
Yeah, they won't be listening to this. Do you honestly think the short fringe lot brigade like, oh, better go on YouTube, it's Weird Hour? I think, you know, unless they want to sort of, you know, self-flagellate tonight, they're not
I just think it's stupid to wear the bones in my corset and then not eat the flesh.
That would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
That'd be such a waste, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But do you know, it's funny, when I went up to Lapland.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Is that a real place?
It's a real place,
Isn't
because
that like
basically
the North
there's a
Pole?
line. Lapland's just basically, you get to the north of Scandinavian countries, all of it, and it's just I think it's the North Pole. There's some sort of line that goes now in actual Lapland or something.
Be a great name for a topless dancing bar.
Oh my God, wouldn't it? That is such a good idea.
And they come out dressed as elves.
That'd be good. Well, actually, you know, kinky elves, that's a thing. I used to work at a nightclub and we used to have to do theme clothes, and I'm sure I was a kinky elf at some point. I was at all sorts of things. Do you know, I was in the at university and coming home working during the school holidays, and my mum, bless her, used to help me you know, design my slutty outfits. That's a proper partnership, that is. You're going to get some tips tonight, you will. But when I was in Lapland, I didn't like the fact, we there in winter when it doesn't actually get light.
Yeah, I was in Norway. It was very short period of time that it was light. I mean, it was spectacular. And you know, amazing mountains and stuff. And where we were staying, because we were skiing, we're like up a mountain and like looking down, because I'm used to like mountains from being in Scotland, but these were something else. It was like so far down, you know, and like they just went straight down, and you could see the whatever you call it, the fjord.
Nice.
It was amazing.
I thought I got a bit funnied out by darkness thing. It was novel for like 2 days, and I was like, I can see where they all commit suicide around these parts, because that's odd. And then I had reindeer soup.
Was that nice?
No. What I would say to anyone who's not had reindeer is don't bother. They are kind of cute. Apart from when their horns fall off. That's not pretty to see.
Yeah.
But I'm going to come back to that in a minute. But I had reindeer soup. And it's literally like if you were to crush up rich tea biscuits.
I do.
And just don't even put water with it. It's like that. Not in the texture, but it's like reverse osmosis. That meat is so lean. Like venison's a bit lean.
It dries your mouth.
It dries you out.
Even though it's in a soup.
Even in soup form. Like you can't cook. You have to cook reindeer as part of a soup because you need the moisture. Otherwise, you'll probably die of dehydration.
Yeah. It's like eating silica gel sachets.
Yeah. It's not really the one, basically.
Yeah.
But on another reindeer note, I took my my brother's kids came to stay for New Year's Eve this year, and near me in the Cotswolds there's the Cotswolds Reindeer Farm where they provide reindeers for, you know, Santa's grottos and stuff around the UK and soup factories. I do think when they've done enough grottos, they might end up in a can of dog food. But I don't know. But anyway, I didn't realise that their horns, they shed their horns, right? And it's nasty, man. It is nasty.
The actual horn falls off.
Yeah. No, but it's before the horn falls off, it starts peeling like it's got leprosy. All this blood is coming out.
Yeah.
So it's like all this peeling leprous horn with blood running down the side of the face, a massive open wound here with one of the horns has fallen off. And it was like taking my brother's kids to see the cute reindeers, and it's like, ah!
Yeah.
Like they looked like, I don't know, like zombie reindeers. I was like, whoa, I want to get them when they're horny.
It's
not this.
Circle of life.
Yeah. Wasn't nice. Dean is insistent. He's written something in massive letters on the screen because he wants us to talk about it. So, you know, Dean's in charge. I know when he's in charge. When he says stuff in my ear, I've literally got a selective hearing, and sometimes if I think I need to listen to it, I do. Otherwise, I'm talking to you and I can just hear this sort of in my earpiece, and it's Dean. I'm just like, well, you know. He'll say it again. But no, he's written stuff in bold font saying Jonathan Liu from The Guardian did a piece saying pubs are for everyone. Don't let reform make them the political property of the boorish hard right. Let's talk about that, shall we? Dean says we have to. Dean loves a pub, you see. This is the thing. Anything related to pub, it is just... it's what he wants.
Yeah, I read this article. What is when has anybody in The Guardian been to the pub, been to the boozer? You know what I mean? What, for chamomile tea? Can I have a pint of chamomile tea, please? But yeah, this article, he's basically saying that the pub is being colonised by reform.
Colonised?
Yeah.
Colonised?
It's becoming a reform. It's becoming a place because I think reform have compared it to every pub is its own parliament.
Yeah.
But then this guy's saying, well, it's where white men, straight white men, because everybody at The Guardian thinks it's still 2015 and being a straight white man is a bad thing. It's where straight white men go to have a drink. Pubs are for everybody, and it's like, well, they're not for everybody, are they? They're not for people who don't drink. They're not for it's like you can say mosques are for everybody. Mosques are for Muslims.
This is the thing. There's two types of pubs, or three. There's a third sort of intermediary category, but you've got pubs, which to me are wet lead. That's like an industry jargon term, wet lead. They basically don't bother with anything but no food.
Oh, right. So it's
wet lead.
Drink. Yeah,
wet lead. It's just like we're a pub.
Yeah. No reindeer meat.
No reindeer meat. And then you've got, I remember one, so I worked with Nigel for ages. And so sometimes I'd say things because I knew it would provoke a certain turn of phrase from him. And he loves a wet lead pub, does Nigel? Yeah. And if you go to one of those gastro pubs that has once upon a time it was Thai fish cakes. Now it's that sausage that I can't pronounce, induja.
Oh yeah, you get chips. You get chips and you only get like 4 of them. They're the size of a log. And they come in a little shopping trolley. Like somebody shrunk down a shopping trolley. And then, your fish is on a upside down dustbin lid.
Yeah, no one needs that.
Just give me a plate.
Yeah, ain't no time for that.
Yeah.
But he would, if you ever take Nigel to that and say it's a pub, he'd be like, it's a restaurant. He hates those gastro pubs. He's like, that's not what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like the middle zone is where you have a pub with a dining room, and that is as it should be.
Yeah.
You want to go, have your dinner, have your steak and egg and chips, whatever. You go back there and you have that.
Yeah.
And you can come round here and have that.
Or there's a little van outside that does pizzas or does like Thai food.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's cheap. It's authentic.
That's the
and
one.
then you can come back in the pub. Or if you don't want that, what's wrong with a couple of packets of scampi fries? I know they don't have the naked woman on the card anymore.
Did they have a naked woman on that scampi
this is
fries?
amazing. Well, this is
this when Cheese Moments still existed?
This was in the Cheese Moments.
I know. Can we talk about Cheese Moments for a moment? Where did they go? Why weren't they popular enough?
I don't know. I think they were wiped out in the Great Cheese Moment blight. The pub snacks used to be mounted on a bit of card that had a semi-naked woman, like a topless woman on it, and over the weeks,
she'd get like more
as the
and
pub
more
snacks were brought, she'd become more naked. It was like she'd be revealed like a rudimentary form of internet downloading.
I've just remembered a photograph.
If you think dial-up internet is slow, wait until you've had scampi fry internet to see like this naked woman appear.
I literally just had a flashback of a photograph that exists of me that if ever I go back into politics is bound to resurface at one point. So I may as well just do the West Streeting and talk about it now.
Is it you behind the scampi fries on that card?
Oh, it's worse than that. So I used to live with this girl called Brogan, mad Welsh woman, absolutely fucking freestyling brilliant. Oh my goodness, I did not say anything wrong there. I said freestyling brilliant. She was brilliant, and apologies if I said something or almost said something I shouldn't have said. I got carried away. She was freestyling brilliant. Anyway, we decided we were going to explore all the different varieties of pork scratchings that existed in the world. And this was years and years ago. We lived together and we were sort of like, fairly heavy drinkers back then. And so we went around buying all these pork scratchings. And one day we went into a corner shop and they had the sort of, the cardboard mount with them all on. Yeah. And instead of buying an individual packet, we just said, can we have the whole cardboard mount and we're going to hang them in the house?
Did they give you a discount?
And I don't know, I can't remember. But what happened, all I know is there's a photograph that exists of me holding the cardboard pork scratchings display, and I'm otherwise it's a bit like one of those calendar girls pictures. It's just me in the pork scratchings display. Yeah, I know that's in circulation. I know someone somewhere has that.
Yeah,
so I'm talking about it now.
If you've got it, you can send it in.
Well, yeah, if I do end up in politics, that's it. I ain't getting the Muslim vote. That's done.
I don't think you were going to get it anyway.
That's over. Right, Dean's put something else on my screen. And it wasn't telling me off, amazingly. A former women's football and broadcaster, Eni Aluko, calls British TV a toxic space as she quits broadcasting work after row with Ian Wright and clash with Simon Jordan. Here is the clip from Talk Sport he's written in capitals.
You've just said you think Eni is guilty on occasion of playing certain cards.
I do.
Is one of those cards the racism card?
I think so, yes.
Well,
yeah, I think to suggest that questioning the validity of DEI and saying that's a racist thought, I think is wrong.
A court has said it's a racist thought.
Listen, I think questioning DEI as a policy and quotas as a policy over merit is not a racist thought. One of the most interesting statistics is young white men in this country are the most disadvantaged. But no one's interested in that DEI perspective.
I wouldn't say no one's interested.
Well, they're not really.
I think that,
Well, they're only interested, and if we start talking about it, it goes back to what's happening in other ethnicities.
Well, look, I came on here to talk about
it's gone off on
football,
a tangent.
but
yeah.
Hello, welcome back. We're just having conversations. I was getting myself a new cup of tea. I mean, this is the thing. I think she's kind of like now entered that era that some people do when it's a bit like that Femi one who no one wants to book anymore.
Yeah.
Have you noticed? He was moaning the other day on something or the other.
I'd love to hear his World Cup coverage.
I'd love to hear his World Cup coverage.
Yeah.
But he was moaning the other day. He's no longer on that thing on 5, Jeremy Vine on 5.
Right.
I used to go on that from time to time. They don't want me on anymore. Anyway, they've dropped the likes of Femi, apparently. It's like Narinda What's-Her-Face is always moaning that she's not on things. Why am I not on Question Time? It's like, well, why do you think you should be? Like, who are you? Are you a politician? No. But it's like these people made such... They got a public profile out of being DEI sensationalists. And some of them are still pushing away trying to do that. But I kind of feel that industry's done. They're like, no one wants that anymore.
Honestly, the beneficiaries of DEI are obviously going to believe in it because they're doing well out of it. If DEI had all been about getting, Scottish comedians into positions of power and influence and wealth and all the rest of it, I'd have been like, yeah, DEI is amazing. Of course we should all practice DEI. But it wasn't. It wasn't about that at all. And I think, Eni Aluko, God bless her, great footballer for a woman, probably. I've got no idea.
I don't know about football.
But, probably a good footballer. She was in the Lionesses. I understand they're good as...
They won everything, didn't they? I like the fact they won stuff.
Everybody says how well they did, but you were playing against women. So it makes it a lot easier. If they were playing against men, it would be proper football.
I
And
like Joey Barton.
That is more, yeah, but that's the thing. She's fallen out. She had that tete-a-tete with Joey Barton. Now she's having a tete-a-tete with whoever this guy is, with Ian Wright.
He's married to Michelle Dewberry.
Oh, of course,
That's
I met that
Michelle
guy.
Dewberry's husband.
I love that guy.
I love that guy.
I didn't know that was the same guy.
Yeah, he works there.
He's a great guy.
People think I'm Max. Whenever we talk about TalkSport, I do that.
Yeah.
Because I know that if I were to punch through that wall, I'd be in the TalkSport studio. I know
Right,
that.
yeah.
You guys at home don't, but there they are.
Yeah, this is where I don't have much sporting knowledge, so I don't know much about football. I just know, sports are much more entertaining when transgender athletes are allowed in. But also I think that Eni Aluko, she always seems to be the problem. At some point, she's got to ask herself, hey, maybe it's not everybody else that's wrong. Maybe it's me that's causing all this conflict. And when she's telling that guy he's racist for criticising DEI, that's an absolute nonsense. DEI is racist.
It is so racist.
Yeah, and it's also it's not. It's just straight up baked into it racist, and and supported by the entire establishment. So it's not even got the excuse of being some sort of fringe racist, in a pub somewhere.
Do you know how mental it all got during the BLM thing? That was, to me, sometimes when I look back at recent things, it's like that is so evidently mental illness on sticks.
Yeah.
There's some felon. It was a pretty gross guy, that George. He weren't nice. He weren't a nice man. He weren't Jesus.
He
was
held
not
up a
kindly.
woman, robbed a woman with a gunpoint, a pregnant woman at gunpoint.
He's really not okay. He had, slosh loads of fentanyl in his system.
Yeah.
No one says that police officer kneeling on him while he's going is a good idea. No, that's not cool. Anyone who does that in the line of duty and, bumps someone off, obviously, you've got to go through some sort of trial.
But George Floyd had been saying, before he was kneeled on, which I understand is, all right, it might look bad, but I think that's
normal suppression technique.
what
If you
people
think someone's
do.
going to, it's how you
I really
get
think
them under
Derek
control.
Chauvin was sort of made a scapegoat there, just out of, it was one of those
totally.
cases like the O.J. Simpson trial where, there had to be a certain outcome, because otherwise...
Right, it'll kick off.
Riots were going to happen.
But what was mental is, some horrible felon dies while being arrested, which isn't really a story anywhere for any reason at all that anyone should know about, not even in Minneapolis or wherever it happened. Then all of a sudden there's this worldwide movement where blimmin' Starmer and Rayner earnestly, on the carpet of Westminster Palace are sort of kneeling like this. Yeah. And it's like, then all the footballers are kneeling.
Yeah. And then
someone on GB News kneeled and it all went mental. And I'm like, why are we all kneeling? What's this kneeling thing? It's not going to...
Yeah, and also, if George Floyd came back, you think he's going to want to see people kneeling?
He'd love it. It'd be like, look at me. Someone gives a...
No, he's going to be like, that's what they did to me. And now you're... And now you're doing it as well. Can you remember me some other way? Can you remember me from my nightclub work?
Yeah, can you remember me from my guns?
Yeah. Also, George Floyd, if anything, he was killed by lockdown. That guy was working as a nightclub bouncer.
Was he?
Yeah, he was working as a nightclub bouncer, and then, because of lockdown, the nightclubs shut. So then, he was doing other stuff. He was committing his, whatever fraud he was committing. He was, committing crimes, shifting drugs and stuff.
Alternative
if
earnings.
he'd been allowed to keep on earning as a nightclub bouncer, he'd still be alive today. If lockdown hadn't happened, George Floyd would be alive today.
Oh, there you are. I think that's a beautiful moment to end Weird Hour.
Is it over?
Yeah, no, I do love it so much,
Oh my
don't
God,
you?
I thought we'd
It's
done like
literally
half an
over.
hour.
No, that is it. This is the great thing about Weird Hour. I don't know, but it's its own thing.
It's a portal.
It is a portal. Oh, Leo, I've loved having you here for Weird Hour. You've got to come back and do it again.
I'd love to come back and do it again.
Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the evening. Go and pour yourself a 12-fingered gin and tonic for all I care. Just don't end up in the wrong side of it, okay? Keep yourselves healthy, have a good night's sleep, turn up for work tomorrow. I'm going to, and I hopefully will have the pleasure of your company as well. But from now, from me, cheers and good night.